Chapter 639, Manta Ray and the Pure Blood Coral. Are you done with your chores? When Wang Xian returned to the beach, Xiao Yu and the girls were still eating. Seeing Wang Xian approaching, they questioned him with smiles. Yeah. I have to head to the disordered region tomorrow. You girls can remain here and enjoy yourselves. Wang Xian sat down and spoke to them with a smile. All right, Xiao Xian. If there's anything you require our help with, you can just inform us. We aren't weak at all right now. Lan Qingyu replied to Wang Xian with a smile. All right. But I really don't need your help at this moment. Wang Xian chuckled. The girls were indeed not weak at the moment. Xiao Yu, Elder Fang, and Sun Lingxiu would be able to reach the budding realm soon. As for Lan Qingyu, she had reached the budding realm some time ago. The first Kuan she bred, Xiao Lan, had also reached level 12. The budding realm Xiao Lan had reached a size of over 70 meters. On Earth, it was definitely a terrifyingly huge creature. Moreover, based on what Lan Qingyu had told him, Xiao Lan would be able to reach level 13 within half a year. When Xiao Lan reached level 13, its size could reach 200 meters. Moreover, it would be able to fly in the sky. Its strength would definitely rank among the pinnacle among those in the same realm. Wang Xian accompanied them till 12 a.m. before the group headed back to the hotel. On the next day, Wang Xian led the group of Dragonians and steered towards the disordered region. As compared to other areas, the disordered region looked a little gloomier. It was especially so for the areas under the sea. Other areas might have seawater that was blue in color. However, the disordered region was much darker and had terrifying vibes being emitted from the bottom of the sea. Roving sword, roving heavens, and the rest are a few hundred miles ahead of us. Wang Xian stood on the yacht and sensed the surroundings. He retrieved the map and instructed, head towards the disordered island straight ahead. Yes, Dragon King. Mo Qinglong nodded his head, steered the yacht and moved towards the central location. Around them, several black mountain peaks extended out from the bottom of the sea. The peaks were rugged and looked extremely sharp. The further he proceeded, the more peaks he noticed that were extending out of the waters. One should note that the sea below them could reach a depth of over 3,000 meters. In other words, these protruding peaks were at least 3,000 meters tall. The deeper he moved, the more peaks he saw. In this place, it was impossible for large ships to move through. A mistake would result in the sinking of the entire ship. The grayish mist made the day resemble the night. The sun resembled the moon as it emitted dim light. Bam! Be careful. Suddenly, Wang Xian felt a terrifying aura from the bottom of the sea. He was astonished and shouted to remind the group. Boom! At this moment, followed by a huge explosion, the front of the yacht exploded. A creepy creature extended its wings and charged towards them. Manta Ray, level 10. Extractable dragon energy, 112,342. It's an inborn level marine creature. Seeing the Manta Ray charging towards him, Wang Xian was astonished. This level 10 Manta Ray was roughly 6 to 7 meters in size. Its entire body was pitch black and emitted dense devilish aura. It resembled a bat and had 2 fluid wings. At the edge of each wing was a razor-sharp bone spike. The Manta Ray had a horrifying mouthpart and teeth that resembled a fork that was protruding out of its mouth. It also had a black tail that was roughly 3 meters long. The Manta Ray jumped out of the water surface and charged towards them at a terrifying speed by flying. You must be courting death. A cold light flashed in the eyes of Mo Qinglong. He pulled back his arm and transformed his arm into a terrifying dragon claw before swinging it towards the Manta Ray. Gg. The Manta Ray cried out pitifully as it was caught. Heh! What a strong skeletal structure. Mo Qinglong was surprised. Flexing his arm, the Manta Ray was killed on the spot. Swish swish swish. At this moment, more than a dozen additional Manta Rays flew out of the sea. They extended both of their wings and used their razor-sharp mouthparts and tails to attack Wang Xian and the Dragonians. Wang Xian waved his arm and the Manta Rays flew towards him. Bam! 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 The dozen-odd Manta Rays were killed right away and were put into Wang Xian's space ring. The disordered region is indeed something. While steering on the sea, we can even encounter terrifying marine creatures flying out from the sea. This area isn't a place where the weak could survive. Wang Xian's eyes flickered as he stared into the water below him. Wherever there were strong marine creatures, they would likely have spiritual items around. Wang Xian leaped into the sky and dove right into the water. Heh! Level 11 Manta Ray. Just as he dived into the water, Wang Xian saw a level 11 manta ray right away. Its body was roughly 10 meters long and was emitting terrifying vibes. It flapped its wings while releasing streams of devilish aura. At this juncture, that manta ray was staring in the direction directly below him. It's not surprising now that the sea appears so dark. There are probably a large number of manta rays within the disordered region. Wang Xian reached forward and the water before him seemed to be held in his palms. Rumble. Water swords appeared out of thin air and shot towards the level 11 manta ray. With Wang Xian's current ability to manipulate water energy, killing creatures that were weaker than him was like a walk in the park. After putting the corpse of the manta ray into his space ring, Wang Xian dived deeper in. There was an underwater mountain below him. The mountain wasn't very tall and Wang Xian saw a tuft of spiritual grass that emitted a blood-red glow in the middle of the mountain. Wang Xian squinted his eyes, dived down and appeared beside it in an instant. Pure blood coral. This is a tuft of pure blood coral. Wang Xian observed it in shock. This wasn't an ordinary coral or ordinary spiritual grass. The bottom of this pure blood coral was connected to various terrifying roots. There were countless mouthparts densely packed on these roots, making it look exceptionally grotesque. It had its own life. The pure blood coral was located in the middle of its 11 roots extension and was emitting vast energy. Is this the pure blood coral? It feeds on the fresh blood of living creatures to form the pure blood corals, while the living creatures can also greatly enhance their strength by devouring it. Tempt and be tempted. Wang Xian mumbled to himself. He waved his hands and a stream of water grabbed towards the pure blood coral. Swish, swish, swish. Those roots extensions with revolting mouthparts instantly surrounded the pure blood coral. Wang Xian waved his arm and 5 spiritual swords appeared around his hand before slashing those roots extensions. Wang Xian severed the roots extension and plucked out the pure blood coral with his hand. Dense energy was emitted in the instant. Pure blood coral, level 6. Extractable dragon energy, 18,621. It's still alive. Holding the pure blood coral in his hand, Wang Xian was astonished to find it still alive. Those roots extensions of the blood coral were still alive. Gradually, it grew palm-size roots. This is. If we don't remove the roots completely, it will continue to grow longer, hunt for living creatures to form new pure blood coral, and grow stronger. This is truly magical. Wang Xian was slightly impressed. Given some time, it would be able to form another pure blood coral with immense energy. In that case, there will definitely be lots of pure blood corals in this place. This is indeed a treasure ground. The contests of marine animals are just like the contests between humans. Chapter 640, People from Shia Cauldron World. Wow! After he swam out from the bottom of the sea, Wang Xian noticed the yacht in ruin. A hole was found at the head of the yacht, but no water seeped in. Sailing with it was still possible. The ship from Century Ghost Group that we saw was made from level 7 materials. When there's a chance, I shall look for some material to build my own. Wang Xian pondered to himself as he looked ahead while the yacht continued to move on. Someone is here. After traveling for more than 10 kilometers, a ship appeared in their sight. The opposite ship was apparently traveling in the same direction as they were. This is interesting. I've realized this world is rather interesting. Haha. At this moment, 15 men stood on the deck of that boat. They looked into the distance, exhibiting pride on their faces from the bottom of their hearts. Out of the 10 men, the eldest was in his 40s while another 5 ladies looked like in their 30s. They spoke Mandarin, wearing peculiar clothing with long hair regardless of gender. Beside them stood 8 ladies looking frightful in their swimsuits. These 10-odd people exuded a faint demonic aura, which made them look devilish. TSK, look at this babe. Even though her look is average, The way that she is dressed is rather common in the real world. Such a beautiful world. For the past 400 years, no one from the Shia Cauldron world entered the real world. 400 years. I was almost bored to death in that little world. A middle-aged man wet his lips as he looked ahead with an evil charm. We must enjoy ourselves in this world these next few days. Despite the air over here being filthy, it's more exciting and interesting. A young man reached out his hand and hugged a babe in his arm, caressing the girl all over with excitement. After our world descends into the real world, we can enjoy ourselves again. Sect leader did not deplete so much of his energy just so that we could come out and have fun. A middle-aged man who stood in the middle said to them plainly, "Senior brother, aren't we doing serious business now? Currently, our strength in that world was too weak since all the resources were exhausted," a young man said with a smile. The Shia Cauldron world was, after all, too small. Even though this world is lacking in spiritual energy, there are many locations with hidden resources. Some of it was even better than our world. The middle-aged man in the center surveyed the surroundings as he spoke slowly. The ocean, indeed. Those creatures in the sea were already an incredible resource. We must get hold of more information on this world before other worlds descend into the real world. We should occupy some treasure grounds first. This place is comparable to our resources in Shia world a few thousand years ago. If we can take control of the disordered region, this will mark a great achievement for the immortal sect. Since the remaining worlds have not descended, it'll be a piece of cake to control this place. Everyone revealed strong confidence with their lips curled slightly. One of them looked behind and said, "Senior brother, there's a ship behind us. Should we take them down first?" "Don't bother. Wait till it gets here and we'll take it down once and for all." The middle-aged man in the center swept a glance behind him and remarked coldly, "You're right. We don't have to waste our time on this." A young man chuckled as he sat in a chair leisurely and beckoned to the babes beside him. Wang Xian withdrew his gaze from that boat and looked ahead. Over there, the island slowly came into sight. It was like a ghost island within this pitch-black sea region. The yacht was moving fast. When Wang Xian arrived, he saw the ship that was ahead of him just now had already docked at the shore. More than a dozen ships surrounded that boat. Disordered island. Wang Xian looked ahead and spotted a gigantic boulder erected with a couple of letters on it. Beside the boulder stood two ferocious-looking middle-aged men, baring their arms and staring at them with cold gazes. They must be the men from Devil Kid. Wang Xian jumped off from his boat while over 30 Dragonians and Mo Qinglong followed behind him. "You may enter, but don't make trouble. Otherwise, we'll kill you for sure." Two middle-aged men from Devil Kid reminded the gang coldly at the entrance. Wang Xian nodded nonchalantly as he stalked straight in. The not-so-huge island spanned a radius of 5 kilometers with many places filled with rugged rocks. There were no trees on the island, which made it even bleaker. Conversations were heard from the island. Wang Xian walked along a road and saw luxurious houses at the end of the road. There were 5,000 people in the houses, and some of them were making trades. Men from Devil Kid were constantly patrolling around the area. Wang Xian went in with eyes flickering with blue and red radiance. He looked around the place where the trading was taking place. 48 half-step to Dan Realm experts, 15 Dan Realm experts, and only 2 budding Realm expert. Not bad for the disordered region. There are many experts over here. Given such a strength, it's compelling for international standard. Wang Xian quirked his lips. Taking in this group of people would significantly enhance the strength of Dragon Sect. Ha! At this moment, Wang Xian squinted his eyes as he stared at a group of 15 standing by the side. 15 people were standing there, looking ahead without any concern. They were surveying everyone with arrogance. 15 budding realm experts. 15 of them. Wang Xian was taken aback and surprised, as that strength was terrifying. All of them have long hair, even the guys. Their clothes look similar to those of Yongchang World. Wang Xian's eyes were beaming with radiance. Ancient clothes with long hair. Could it be? A tinge of seriousness welled in Wang Xian's eyes. Could it be that one of the 9 cauldron worlds had descended into the real world? What are they doing here? Wang Xian furrowed his brows, but soon, he relaxed them. Regardless of whether they have descended into the real world, I should subdue this place first. Control the entire disordered region and enhance the strength of Dragon Palace and Dragon Sec. Wang Xian drew his lips and walked forward, looking at each of the trading shops. Senior brother, there are only 2 budding realm experts here. When are we striking? A young man asked the senior brother in the center with a smile. Didn't a fellow say there will be several large wandering groups here for trading too? Let's wait until they are here. Be patient. In the past, all the forces had to bow down to us wherever we were near the various immortal sects. Back then, only the experts from Europe could match up against us. Now it's time for them to succumb to us. The middle-aged man looked around and commented plainly. All of them shall bow down to us. Wait till our master's arrival. Chapter 641, Merman. Everyone has to surrender. Thinking back to the times when Huaxia was in its most glorious days, they had swept through vast lands easily. 1. What had they relied on to subdue the masses within the 4 seas? 2. Peerless experts and the powerful and prosperous immortal sects and army. When the 9 cauldrons stabilized the nation's fortune, all the tribes and dynasties within Asia had to pay pilgrimage to them. The underworld in the past was incomparably powerful and prosperous. It was only when experts from various immortal sects privatized the 9 cauldrons for their vested interests that the fortune of the nation started to dissipate, eventually leading to the decline of the nation. Although the times had changed, the malicious and immoral immortal sects beyond the region would definitely be extinguished. The 15 disciples from Shia Cauldron looked across the group of people with contempt. In their eyes, they were the only rulers. There's someone by the name of the Dragon King that has appeared in the underworld. Rumor has it that he's a demon-like talent and that he vanquished countless experts of the underworld. It's a shame that we aren't aware of his current location. A lady played with the mobile phone in her hands with great interest while speaking with a smile. If we happen to meet him, we can make him our subordinate and instruct him to do as we wish, another young man standing by the side joked. This Dragon King is indeed a talent in the underworld. At this moment, the entire underworld sees him as their ruler. If we could subdue him, he would be greatly useful to us. That's completely pointless. Looking at the current underworld, I could have slaughtered all the martial artists in the underworld myself. He's just an ordinary man who has been enshrined as a legendary person. If we really encounter him, he would at most be at the budding realm. He might not even be a match for me. We wouldn't have much use for him. The group was conversing and commenting on the current underworld with a sense of superiority. Wang Xian glanced across the people before him before entering the trading grounds ahead of him. The entire trading grounds only had roughly 50 to 60 stalls. Besides these stalls, some people had laid their items on the ground for sale. Wang Xian looked around him and saw weapons, spiritual grass, the flesh of the underwater manta rays, and many other things with prices indicated clearly. These items would be really precious if brought to the underworld. However, they weren't of high value to Wang Xian. While Wang Xian led Mo Qinglong and the rest around each store, the surrounding people were also observing the group. Some of them squinted their eyes and light flashed across their eyes. No one knew what they were thinking about. The Lord of the disordered region is here. The people from heavenly spirits are here too. The leaders and heads of various prominent wandering groups are here. I wonder what kinds of treasures there are this time. At this moment, raucous discussions could be heard from the surroundings. Wang Xian turned around and looked to the entrance. Various martial artists emitting brutal and powerful aura were walking in his direction without any emotions on their faces. The first group of roughly 30 people had a myriad of tattoos on their faces, making them look exceptionally hideous and frightening. Among the group of 30 people, there were a dozen-odd inborn-level experts. They were led by an old man with a tattoo of a devil on his face. Budding realm expert. Several emaciated dwarfs followed closely behind. Although they were at most 70 to 80 centimeters tall, the aura emanating from them made it impossible for anyone to belittle them. All of them were carrying black truncheons or black samurai swords. Among them, 2 of them were carrying a cage covered in black cloth. No one could tell what was inside it. Behind this group, Various experts from various groups were also entering the trading grounds. The groups of people could be easily differentiated. Judging from the auras they were emanating, none of them would be pushovers. Quite a number of people are here today. The old man with a devil tattoo on his face looked eerily across everyone around him. When he saw the foreign faces of Wang Xian and his group, he commented plainly, "Get the trade started as soon as possible. I, your mother, still have things to handle." Just as the old man finished his words, a rather plump lady with a pitch-black poisonous snake in her hands remarked impatiently. The moment she completed her remarks, she waved her arm and the boxes in the hands of the middle-aged men behind her opened directly. Pure blood corals, cubs of manta rays, the blood of inborn experts. Is there anyone who wishes to make a trade? We are looking to exchange these for treasures and spiritual stones. Hee. Decisive. Buying pure blood corals and teeth of a Dan realm manta ray with spiritual stones. Devil's blood pill, 3 pieces of spiritual equipment. Various wandering groups took out their treasures and laid them out on the ground. Those who were around started moving towards the stall gradually with their eyes fixed fervently on various treasures. Although the items available for trade are great, they are similar to the past. Our heavenly spirits has brought something great today. An emaciated old dwarf looked across the crowd like a sinister snake. He smiled creepily before continuing, "Let's start the trade with what I have." Swish. As he spoke, he waved his arm and sent the cage behind him onto a platform in the center. "If it isn't something great, don't waste our time," the old man with a devil tattoo on his face remarked plainly. Hee. You will know once you see it." The old dwarf moved his arm and the black cloth was flipped aside, revealing the contents of the cage. This is. The surrounding crowd was astonished and had their eyes locked intensely on the creature in the cage. "Is this a merman?" An old man with a strange outfit exclaimed in surprise after seeing what was in the cage. "That's right. This is a merman we caught alive by chance," the dwarf answered with a smile. "A merman? This isn't even a beautiful mermaid. What's the use of getting it?" a middle-aged man asked with contempt. "Its skin is a great treasure. While wearing it, one can swim freely under the water. Why don't you tell us what use it would have?" The dwarf stared at the middle-aged man and answered in a creepy tone. The explanation from the old dwarf instantly aroused the interest of the crowd. Even level 10 spiritual equipment wouldn't allow them to swim freely under the water. "What are you looking to exchange it for?" the plump lady who spoke at the beginning asked with her eyes beaming with excitement. "Blood. The fresh blood of manta rays or inborn experts." The old dwarf licked his lips as he spoke. "Merman." Wang Xian, who had just been standing by the side as a spectator, was astonished to see the items being put up for trade in the center of the trading grounds. A merman was a marine creature that had existed in the myths. He had not expected that he'd encounter one in this place today. However, the surrounding crowd didn't seem to be as surprised. It would appear that they had seen countless other strange and unique creatures from the sea. "We are taking this merman." At this moment, a voice reverberated throughout the crowd. A dozen odd people entered the trading grounds. The surrounding crowd stared harshly at them as they squeezed past them forcefully. However, members of various wandering groups paled upon sensing the terrifying auras being emitted by the 2 young men standing at the edge of the group. They instantly moved aside and opened up a path. What an unexpected encounter. I would have never expected myself to find a merman today. Moreover, it's a merman who has not awakened. This is really uncommon. The old man in the middle of this group stared fervently at the merman on the center stage with his eyes beaming with excitement. Chapter 642, Kneel Down and Surrender, 1. Senior brother, this merman is like the leader of the peculiar marine creatures. After awakening, it might be a peerless talent mermaid that could control water current. That's right. This foreign creature exists only in the vast ocean and was recorded as the spiritual beast. It's my first time seeing this. Haha, guess our luck is good. The middle-aged man stared fervently at the merman and chuckled. If we gave it good training, it would be a huge support to us. Unfortunately, none of us practice water-attributed skills. Ha! The surrounding crowd that overheard their conversations revealed a surprised look. Upon hearing what they said, the old dwarf's eyes twinkled as he squinted and looked at them. "How much blood are you exchanging it for? Idiot." The plump lady beside swept at the group of 15. "You raise the price on your own. What a fool. Bro, we, Raging Sea Wandering Group, practice water-attributed skills. This creature seems to have more affinity with us. I wonder what's so special about this merman." An old man holding onto a long sword asked with a beaming face while a water snake was coiling itself on his long sword. The middle-aged man slowly cast his gaze on the plump lady. With a broad smile, he stared at the merman in the middle. "A merman is priceless to water practitioners. But I want it." "How much blood do you want?" the middle-aged man asked the old dwarf plainly. "Dumbass. What a fool to say this. Isn't this giving a chance to heavenly spirits for them to quote any high price they want? Which wandering group does this bunch of people belong to? I have never seen them before. Newcomers, perhaps. But given this intelligence, they can't live for long." Upon hearing what the middle-aged man said, everyone was watching with scornful looks. "Such a creature is, of course, priceless. I want the fresh blood of 50 inborn level creatures, or 5 Dan realm, or a budding realm expert." "Ha ha." The old dwarf laughed out loud at the middle-aged man's words. "Heavenly spirits, you really dare to quote such a high price?" The old person with the long sword spoke with a darkened expression when he heard what the old dwarf said. "Ha ha, it's a divine creature. Of course, the value is relatively higher." The old dwarf looked at the middle-aged man and asked impassively, "If you can afford it, we can deal immediately. No problem." The middle-aged man nodded with an unconcerned look. His words brightened the mood of the old dwarf, who was still slightly upset for quoting the low price. Everyone just looked at the middle-aged man with astonishment. "A budding realm expert is sufficient," a young man beside the middle-aged man murmured. As soon as his voice stopped, he vanished into thin air. Ah! Just then, a horrifying scream that lasted for 1 second was heard before it came to an abrupt end. "Budding realm blood. For you." While all the surrounding martial artists of the wandering groups were watching, that young man lifted the head of that plump woman and tossed it to the old dwarf. "You!" Bam, bam, bam. All the people staggered back in trepidation as they fixed their eyes on the 15 men with a mixed expression. "Hey, what are you trying to do?" The old dwarf glared at the gang with vigilance and fear. "Who are you people? How dare you create trouble on the disordered island?" The old man who had a tattooed face held out his weapon and stared at the middle-aged man with wariness. All the surrounding experts of the wandering groups fixed their cold gazes at the group, exuding daunting aura from their bodies. There was solemnness in their eyes. That plump lady who had spoken just now was a strong budding realm expert. Her strength was not weaker than the leader of Devil Kid. Yet she was beheaded in a split second. There were 8 budding realm experts on the spot. Ha ha. The middle-aged man let out a clap of hysterical laughter. "What are we trying to do? We are here to subdue all of you. Be honored that you can be recruited under Devil's Sealing Immortal Sec. TSK, surrender to us now." The young man who just struck was looking thrilled. As he swept his gaze around all the people, domineering demonic aura rose from his body. "Surrender. Get down on your knees." 2 young men exclaimed together with their demonic aura surging frantically. Subsequently, the demonic aura rushed to the air, looming over the entire area with their demonic oppression. The domineering oppression coagulated to form many devil's doors, with one exceptionally huge one in the air. On those devil's doors were huge malevolent demon patterns. The area, with a radius of a few kilometers, was cordoned off by the demonic aura. What? In the face of such sudden change, all the wandering groups were shivering in their boots. What compelling strength! There are 15 budding realm experts. The leader of Devil Kid, known as the Lord of the Disordered Region, was slightly trembling with the weapon in his hand. When that young man beheaded the snake lady in an instant, he was already taken aback by surprise. She was a budding realm expert. Killing her without a moment of pause despite it being a surprise strike already indicated the domineering skill of the young man. However, the remaining 14 were equally daunting. Bang, bang, bang. Those martial artists who were below the Dan realm had a drastic change in their expressions. Their bodies seemed to be being suppressed by mountains. All of them gritted their teeth as they knelt down with eyes full of consternation. You have 10 seconds. If you do not kneel and surrender, you'll suffer the same consequences as that plump lady. Of course, you guys can also challenge us, said the middle-aged man with a broad smile as he walked to the center and lifted his chin to look at all the people. Gulp. All the wandering groups were aghast as they looked around with fear. Who are you people? The leader of Devil Kid asked, quivering slightly. You have no right to ask me. The middle-aged man smiled as he stared at Devil Kid. 5 more seconds. As he spoke, he overlooked all the people. K.A. At this time, the devil's doors slowly opened with a ferocious demonic shadow coagulating into black spears. What kind of attack is this? How terrifying. The old dwarf from Heavenly Spirits was aghast as he sensed the ferocity in the air. His body trembled as he slowly went down on his knees. Bam! Upon seeing their leader kneeling down, the rest of the members from Heavenly Spirits followed suit. The demonic oppression was unstoppable. Bam, bam, bam. Since the leader of Heavenly Spirits knelt down, the leader of Devil Kid went down on his knees, looking dreadful. These 15 daunting budding realm experts were not people who they could go against. The remaining leaders of the wandering groups all fell on their knees with quivering bodies. The demonic oppression was unstoppable. Hee. Watching them falling on their knees, one by one, the middle-aged man revealed a faint smile. Eventually, he looked at the 30-odd people who were standing by the side. There are really people who aren't afraid of death. This is great. I can use all of your blood to nurture the merman. Chapter 643, Kneel Down and Surrender, 2. There are really people who aren't afraid of death. This is great. I can use all of your blood to nurture the merman, said the middle-aged man. He wore a sinister smile, lifted his arm gradually and repositioned the terrifying black spears in the sky. Wang Xian lifted his head and stared at the middle-aged man and the 14 people that accompanied him. He asked in an emotionless tone, 9 cauldron worlds? Which world are you guys from? The middle-aged man who was raising his arm stiffened. He stared at Wang Xian and surprise gleamed in his eyes. Who are you? The middle-aged man lowered his arm gradually while observing Wang Xian and the group of Dragonians behind him. I'm the Dragon King from the Dragon Sect. Wang Xian answered the middle-aged man before questioning him again. May I ask which world you guys are from? How did you know about the 9 cauldron worlds? The middle-aged man didn't answer Wang Xian once again. Instead, he looked at Wang Xian with amusement and continued, Dragon King? I heard about you some time ago. You are pretty good. Huh. Seeing the middle-aged man wasn't answering him and acting haughtily, Wang Xian found it hilarious. So you are the Dragon King. You are indeed as young as the rumors claimed. You even have over 30 Dan realm experts as subordinates. That isn't too shabby. Around him, the remaining dozen-odd experts of the Devil-Sealing Immortal sect were observing Wang Xian and were a little surprised by the strength he possessed. You are pretty strong. It would appear that I have underestimated you. Surrender to us and we won't be stingy with our rewards to you once our Devil-Sealing Immortal sect of the Sheer Cauldron descends into the real world. A middle-aged man looked at Wang Xian, nodded his head with satisfaction and commented. What kind of rewards? Wang Xian looked at them with interest while the corner of his lips curved up slightly. Since you know that the 9 cauldron worlds will be descending into the real world soon, you would have expected a major contest soon. Do you think you could rely on your own strength to gain a foothold in the near future? Only by surrendering to us would you gain the qualification to live on. Otherwise, you are just like a mudskipper in a small pond of mud in our eyes, let alone being called the Dragon King. The middle-aged man standing in the middle of the group stared at Wang Xian and continued his mockeries. Become the subordinate of our Devil-Sealing Immortal sect and you will at least have a backing. You guys are truly interesting. Upon hearing the middle-aged man, Wang Xian's face was filled with contempt. Sheer Cauldron World. Devil-Sealing Immortal sect. Ordering me to submit to you and be your subordinates. You guys are truly daring to dream. Hee, senior brother. It seems like this brat is indignant to the suggestion. Let's just kill him directly. A young man was staring at Wang Xian and unhappy about how Wang Xian had reacted as he spoke up with discontent. If he has 30 Dan Reem experts as subordinates, he must at least be at the budding realm. Coupled with his status in the underworld, he's a little more useful than the rest. Let's keep him alive, a lady suggested in an emotionless tone. He doesn't know where he stands. Let me teach him an unforgettable lesson first, a young man remarked with a smile as a dagger appeared in his hand suddenly. He moved and a shadow flashed across instantly. That incomparable and terrifying speed was on display once again. Moments ago, the young man had beheaded the plump lady with his astonishing speed. One could easily tell how fast the group was. The middle-aged man in the middle did not attempt to stop the young man despite seeing him striking. Instead, he simply remarked, "Just teach him a lesson and don't go too far." "Ha ha. All right, senior brother." The voices came from different directions. Looking at the young man who was charging towards him, deep contempt flashed across Wang Xian's eyes. Bo! Black light shot out from the young man's eyes and devilish shadows appeared all around Wang Xian. Weapons from all directions were launched towards him. However, the young man's body stiffened after seeing his dagger plunge into Wang Xian's body. With the dagger still in Wang Xian's body, streams of water flowed out from the wound. "All of you kneel down now and surrender." At this moment, Wang Xian's chilling voice reverberated across. Soon after, to the astonishment of everyone in Devil Sealing Immortal Sect, the head of the young man flew towards them. Bam bam! The human head fell beside the middle-aged man standing in the middle, rolled ahead and caused knocking sounds. "Junior brother my." The middle-aged man was astonished and shouted loudly. Rumble. At this moment, fear-inducing sounds of water flowing resounded. Wung wung. Soon after, to the horror of the group, they noticed that the sky had completely changed. The blue water streams were able to destroy the devilish auras that were surrounding them. The gigantic and terrifying devil's doors started cracking and the entire sky was dyed blue. Terrifying water swords formed in the sky, emitting spine-chilling penetrative force. What kind of terrifying existence have we encountered? At this moment, the crowd from the disordered region, who had gone down on their knees, were shivering in fear. What kind of terrifying existence had they encountered? They wouldn't be a match for any of the 15 people. And yet, there was someone even more terrifying here who suppressed the group of 15 alone. Listening to their conversation, they felt that this world seemed to have changed. The disordered region was a relatively more well-known place in Asia. Even the denominations in the international stage wouldn't dare to interfere recklessly. The truth was that those in the disordered region were all people who weren't concerned about life and death anymore. They were people who had offended the denominations, terrified groups, or found it hard to survive in other places. Even budding realm experts, who were the leaders of these wandering groups, were no exceptions. Otherwise, no one would willingly be in this terrifying sea region. Although they could get precious treasures, this place was the sea after all and belonged to the marine creatures in the sea. Incidents where even budding realm experts died weren't completely an exception. If these budding realm experts were to return to normal society, they would enjoy endless wealth. When placed in denominations, they would also be one of the most elite existences. Considering the current environment, the formation of wandering groups by experts, who were more extreme, was generally fostered. The wandering groups were referred to as wandering dogs by the denominations and other major forces worldwide to show how crazy they could be. And now, the wandering groups of the disordered region, which were known throughout the world, were wanted by two groups of people to be their subordinates. While undoubtedly feeling anger, they were more frightened. The strength that these people had demonstrated was simply too strong. Their strength had even instilled fear into these maniacs. What? The remaining 14 experts were shocked to see their devilish auras and devil's doors shattered by the terrifying streams of water. "I'll give you 10 seconds to go on your knees or you will end up like him." Wang Xian took several steps forward and faced them with a gentle smile. "You. Impossible. How can you possibly be so strong? How can this be?" The group from Devil Sealing Immortal Sect was shivering in fear. They lifted their heads and saw a clear blue sky that was shrouded in water and the countless terrifying water swords. Their pupils constricted unconsciously. You have 5 more seconds. Wang Xian smiled faintly, creating a strong contrast with the exceptional bitter faces of the group from Devil Sealing Immortal Sect. At the same time, they felt indescribable fear as they stared at Wang Xian. It was just like moments ago when they'd put on the same front with the same might while ordering all the wandering groups to get on their knees. It was just that they were now on the receiving end, on their knees and surrendering. Chapter 644, Submission. The people from the Devil Sealing Immortal Sect had a drastic mixed expression as they fixed their eyes hard on Wang Xian. He had asked them, the people from Shia Cauldron, to kneel. The feeling and humiliation of asking them to kneel seemed like they were some beggars or slaves. They had come to this real world, and they had been overlooking the people in this world, just like ants. Now the ant who they had always regarded as such was asking them to kneel. Prideful as they were, they found it hard to accept it. Sensing the frightful water energy around them, the middle-aged man in the center bellowed at Wang Xian with fear in his eyes, "Your half-step to immortal, or ants, your time is up." Wang Xian looked at the 14 people who were altering their facial expressions. With coldness flashing in Wang Xian's eyes, he placed his palms together while the water swords in the air whizzed downward. "How dare you? We're the disciples of Devil Sealing Immortal Sect. If you dare to kill us, our immortal sect will not let you off when the Shia Cauldron descends into the real world. The immortal experts will be after you." Trepidation flashed in a young man's eyes as he exclaimed loudly in a harsh tone. "Don't think too highly of yourself. You guys aren't immortals." Wang Xian swept a cold gaze at that young man while the daunting water swords in the air exploded into endless streams of water swords sweeping into their faces. "Kill." The middle-aged man was horrified as he let out a loud roar. "I'll make you kneel today." A hint of contempt flashed in Wang Xian's eyes. With a thought, 5 level 12 spiritual swords appeared around them, slashing at the group right away. Given Wang Xian's current strength, killing a budding realm was effortless even in his humanoid state. 5 spiritual swords that were exuding immense water energy struck at them, along with those endless water swords besieging them. "Ah, no." As the spiritual swords whizzed over, a middle-aged lowered his head in fear. Their legs were already separated from their bodies at this moment. "No, I surrender. I will kneel." Sensing the pain from his left leg, the middle-aged man looked down with horror in his eyes as he fell to his knees. His strength was unstoppable. They didn't have the slightest ability to resist it. This struck a deep sense of defeat and fear into them. How could there be such a domineering person in this real world? Everyone was bitter when they thought of the evaluation they'd made of the Dragon King of the Underworld. "I surrender. I surrender." One by one, the experts from Devil Sealing Immortal Sect knelt in consternation as they shouted, "That's right. What were you waiting for?" Wang Xian scorned them nonchalantly before he looked over to the wandering groups. "How about you guys? Needless to say, we surrender. We surrender." The leaders of the wandering groups hurriedly exclaimed at the top of their lungs. They had already submitted themselves to the 15 daunting experts just now. Why would they not surrender now? Get them to explain the situation in Shia Cauldron World. Also, the battle techniques they are cultivating and the application of the demonic aura. These will be of great use to you guys. Wang Xian spoke to Mo Qinglong behind him. "Yes, Dragon King." Mo Qinglong nodded as he headed slowly to the experts of Devil Sealing Immortal Sect, staring at them over their heads. As though God had descended to the world, they were shaking and were left with only despair when they saw Wang Xian. "Speak up." Mo Qinglong commanded them coldly. Looking at Mo Qinglong, the group of people clenched their fists while the middle-aged man in the center began his account with a dreadful look. Wang Xian peered over and walked toward the merman. "Merman, level 9. A merman at level 9 is far too weak." Wang Xian sized up the merman. It was no different from human body size, and somewhat took the shape of a human. It was wrapped in a skin that was grim-looking. "What do you mean by the awakening of the merman?" Wang Xian asked this plainly while his voice was ringing in the ears of the people from Devil Sealing Immortal Sect. They took a deep breath with a serious look. We're not sure of the specifics. But according to records, mermen are rather mystical creatures in the ocean. They are ugly and weak before they are awakened. After they awake, they possess striking appearances and great talents. A middle-aged man explained it to Wang Xian with a sullen face. Oh, how do we wake them up? Asked Wang Xian curiously. Feed it spiritual grass and flesh. The more well-fed they are, the stronger they will become after awakening. In addition, they will have intelligence and their own inheritance. The middle-aged man continued to answer. I see. Wang Xian nodded gently and turned to the wandering groups. Those who are half-step to Dan realm and above, get over here. Yes, sir. The group of the wandering group's experts quivered before they stood up and humbled themselves before Wang Xian. 8 budding realm, 23 Dan realm, and 50 half-step to Dan realm experts. This is just right to boost the strength of Dragon Sec. Wang Xian exhibited a satisfied look. He waved his palm, and drops of blood essence appeared on it. Take this and do not resist. Otherwise, you're dead. As Wang Xian spoke emotionlessly, the drops of blood essence hovered over to them. Yes. Upon seeing the golden drops of blood essence, the experts of the wandering groups were having different thoughts. They knew that the outcome would be disastrous if they did not resist it. However, if they did, they would die. They might be maniacs, but none of them wanted to die. Back then, no other denominations could have me controlled. Radiance flickered in one of the leader's eyes as he absorbed the blood essence. Buzz. When the blood essence entered their minds, a scary thought was formed inside them. Their eyes were surging with a hysterical look, staring at Wang Xian passionately. Greetings to the Dragon King, they yelled with 81 wandering groups experts kneeling uniformly before Wang Xian, like passionate believers. The group of devil-sealing immortal sect disciples turned around in disbelief as they stared at the fanatic wandering groups. They are being controlled. What kind of means is this to control their minds? The middle-aged man murmured with shock as he looked aghast. Are you going to control us too? The middle-aged man was shocked as he shuddered. They came to this world only to become slaves to someone else in the end. They were not even subordinates, but slaves with no minds of their own. All the surrounding members were horrified by what they saw. They lowered their heads in trepidation. Dragon King, we got all the information. About 10 minutes later, Mo Qinglong came to Wang Xian and reported. Okay, since we got what we wanted, then just. Wang Xian looked at those devil-sealing immortal sect people. Are you going to control us too? The experts from devil-sealing immortal sect were terrified. Just kill them all, said Wang Xian indifferently. Chapter 645, Immortal Class Creatures. In that case, you guys can die now. The instant Wang Xian completed his words, the surrounding seawater contracted at a terrifying speed. What? The group from the devil-sealing immortal sect was stunned and fear could be seen on their faces. You went back on your word. The middle-aged man in the middle was furious and roared loudly. Wang Xian stared at them but didn't say a word. The next instant, the surrounding seawater struck towards the group of 14. No! They desperately thought of running, but the seawater was like a swamp and emitted an insanely high temperature. Ah! Blood-curdling cries reverberated and Wang Xian stood by the side silently while watching them. Sigh. It looks like it will be an era of competition in the near future. Even if the era might not be chaotic, the world won't be as peaceful as before. Wang Xian looked at their corpses and heaved a long sigh. High and mighty as though they were immortals looking down on the entire world. This was the attitude that was displayed by the people from the 9 cauldron worlds and the exemplification of the pride and arrogance from their core. In their worlds, they wouldn't have to follow laws and regulations. Everything was dictated by strength. When facing people from other 9 cauldron worlds, these people might be a little more courteous. However, if they were facing people from the real world, they would definitely have a sense of superiority. Take these dozen-odd people as an example. Despite facing experts of the same realm, they still acted haughtily. It was as though they thought they were immortals from the heavens looking down on the mortals. This mentality would definitely be a huge blow to all people living in the real world. In fact, for most people living in the real world, the descent of the 9 cauldron worlds might not be a great thing. As he was the strongest expert and leader of the most powerful dragon sect in the underworld, there might be people thinking of subduing him to display their might and strength when the 9 cauldron worlds descended. Some might even kill him to lift their standing and reputation. If you dare to look down on me and take a high stand, I'll bury you 3 inches below ground. A light flickered across Wang Xian's eyes as he glanced across the corpses. He waved his arm and several screens of water veil surrounded these corpses. In an instant, those corpses had turned into a ball of blood-red essence with immense energy. However, such energy was incomparably violent and hard to digest. Wang Xian threw it towards the merman. The merman lifted its head and stared at him without any traces of emotions. Those were eyes that belonged to a wild beast. Wang Xian turned around and looked at the members from the various wandering groups. Under his supervision, the surrounding 4,000 to 5,000 members of the various wandering groups could feel perspiration covering their foreheads as fear gripped them tightly. They were now awaiting Wang Xian's judgment. Kill them. Wang Xian wasn't going to be compassionate to them at all. The hands of this group of people had all been tainted with fresh blood. Recalling his encounter with the Century Ghost previously, Wang Xian did not have the slightest good impression of them. If he didn't require manpower, Wang Xian wouldn't have considered accepting wandering groups from the disordered region as his subordinates. Dragon King, I would suggest using them for breeding pure blood corals. With so many of them, we should be able to breed a large number of pure blood corals, the leader of Devil Kid suggested to Wang Xian. All right, deal with them as you suggest. Wang Xian nodded his head plainly and looked across the newly accepted Dragonians. Evilders. This group of people could be considered as those who had committed the most heinous crimes. After consuming the essence blood, they would follow his instructions to the fullest. They would also see Wang Xian as the absolute ruler. However, their initial beliefs and way of doing things wouldn't change. Mo Qinglong and the Dragonians previously weren't great people. However, when compared to the group of people before him, Mo Qinglong and the Dragonians previously were definitely kind. Using Evilders would be like using a cursed sword. I should be able to use them to slay other Evilders. Wang Xian chuckled and wasn't too concerned about their past actions. With him around, this group of people wouldn't be able to come up with tricks. Leader. No. No. Don't. Around them, the crowd of members from the various wandering groups begged for mercy from their leaders. Hee. You guys should be grateful that your death will bring some value to the Dragon King. It's totally worth it. One of the leaders of the wandering groups grinned as bloodlust could be seen from his face. Members of the wandering groups weren't bonded by blood whatsoever. Even without Wang Xian, they wouldn't feel any sorrow if their subordinates died. Old Mo, tell me about the situation of Shia Cauldron World. When I'm not around in the future, I'll leave this group of people under your supervision. Wang Xian looked across them before instructing Mo Qinglong. Yes, Dragon King. Mo Qinglong nodded his head and continued, Dragon King, the Shia Cauldron is located at the Pingchuan mountain range and spans approximately 1,000 miles. There are 2 immortal sects in the Shia Cauldron world. Rumble. Suddenly, the entire island shook violently. From several tens of kilometers away, a terrifying aura shrouded over. Flashes of gold and black light appeared across the sky, making the entire disordered region seem to be in the center of an apocalypse. Shit. Dragon King, the Manta Ray King of the disordered region, is currently fighting with another terrifying existence. Seeing the terrifying scene from afar, the leader of Devil Kid was filled with horror as he spoke to Wang Xian. King. Wang Xian turned around instantly and his expression turned solemn as he looked into the distance. Manta Ray King is an immortal class creature. It is the strongest existence in the entire disordered region. In the past, I offended an immortal and he chased me to this place. In the end, he incurred the fury of that terrifying Manta Ray King. It has a body that is over 30 meters long. Its pitch-black body is covered in terrifying-looking scales. At that time, that immortal escaped in a hurry after exchanging a dozen moves with the Manta Ray King. It can fly in the sky and swim underwater. When it emerges from the seas, the devilish aura masks the sky and no light can reach the area within a radius of several dozens of miles around it, Old Dwarf Man explained to Wang Xian while looking flabbergasted. It is also because there is an immortal class creature in the disordered region that deterred many elite experts from various denominations from entering. If we had the choice, we wouldn't want to be here either, an old man said, looking into the distance. The Manta Ray King is the true lord of the disordered region, the leader of Devil Kid explained. You guys shall stay here while I go take a look. Feeling the intensity of the battle in that direction, Wang Xian moved towards it at an incredible speed. Be careful, Dragon King, the newly joined Dragonians reminded. Just relax. Mo Qinglong looked at them and commented plainly. The one fighting with the Manta Ray King was Roving Sword. If there was an immortal class creature in this place, there should be many budding realm class Manta Ray. Roving Heavens and the remaining Dragon Palace members have likely run into some trouble. Wang Xian squinted his eyes and a red and blue light flickered. He dived into the water and executed instant shift immediately. Boom! At this moment, a terrifying figure emerged from the sea. It was entirely black and was over 30 meters long. It resembled the terrifying creatures that only existed in ancient times. When it emerged from the seas, the color of the sky changed and the area within a radius of 20 to 30 miles was shrouded in the devilish aura. This is what is truly meant by covering the skies with devilish aura. Dang dang dang. Suddenly, a blinding golden light emerged from the seas. The golden light transformed into a sword and split the devilish aura that covered the entire sky. Chapter 646, Immortal Class Terrifying Battle. GGG, GGG. A scary buzz came from the sky. A manta ray of more than 30 meters was flapping just like a bat flapping its wings in the air. Its teeth were 5 meters long as though bones were piercing outward when the mouth was open. Along with its cry, clouds of scary demonic aura coagulated into smaller manta ray images of 4 meters in size. The demonic shadow struck at the sharp golden swords. Boom boom. The manta ray demonic phantoms collided with the golden sword shadows, giving off a huge explosion. Black and golden colors exploded like daunting fireworks. Whoosh. At this instance, rays of golden beams darted out from the sea as though some terrifying things were rising out from it while the seawater spread out on its own. Roving Sword stood on the long sword that was glowing in golden radiance. He was staring at the Manta Ray King that was oozing with demonic aura in the air. Get out of our region. The Manta Ray King suspended itself in the air as it stared at Roving Sword with its pitch-black eyes, spewing rings of ripples. The ripple waves were like a transmission on a spiritual level as the voice traveled out to a radius of over 10 kilometers. All the living creatures could understand, as though its words could enter into the mind of every living being. We came from the Dragon Palace. If you submit to us and join us, we can spare your life. Roving Sword stared at the Manta Ray King and spoke with a cold face. What Dragon Palace? Get out of this water region, or else, die. The Manta Ray King flapped its vast wings, shrouding Roving Sword with a domineering demonic aura. At the same time, its body looked like a fighter plane, whizzing in at Roving Sword. Swords rule the world, I'm the supreme. Seeing Manta Ray King going for a strike, Roving Sword jerked himself back, releasing daunting metallic energy and blocking the shrouding demonic aura. Millions of golden long swords appeared in the void, aiming straight at Manta Ray King. ZZ. Manta Ray King suddenly retracted its wings while the sharp teeth in its gigantic head went for a bite of Roving Sword's head. Spaceless blade. Seeing that no swords left any trace on its wings, Roving Sword raised his arm and brought it down. All the golden radiance came together at rapid speed, forming a 100-meter-long sword pointing at Manta Ray King. Bang, bang, bang. Behind Manta Ray King was a black tail that extended to a length of over 10 meters like a devilish whip, sweeping in at Roving Sword. Sword defense. There was a change in Roving Sword's expression. The surrounding golden swords were spinning at a rapid speed, forming a wall of sword defense. Boom. However, the compelling forces swept off Roving Sword, causing him to plummet into the sea at a terrifying speed. Waves splashed up 100 meters. Gigi. Devil Shadow. Manta Ray King watched the sea with trembling wings. Another similar-sized demonic shadow headed into the sea. Boom! Another explosion was heard. All the seawater within the radius of 1 kilometer sank down, forming a scary whirlpool. Roar! At this moment, a beam of sword radiance darted out from the sea. The golden longsword was 20 meters in size, directed at the manta ray king. This was not a golden long sword, but a daunting metallic swordfish. Golden swordfish, roving sword. At this time, roving sword returned back to his original form with imposing aura. His entire body had turned into a ruthless sword. Using the spine on his head as the tip of the sword, and his body as the edge of the sword, his fishtail was the sword hilt. Sword becomes one, I'm the sword. Bam! Roving sword transformed into a sword and charged. Boom! Petrifying impact and a deafening clang resounded through heaven and earth. GG. However, Manta Ray King went forward slow and steady with its hair-raising wings and tail. Boom boom! The battle between the immortals was destructive. Patches of gold and black filled the air while all the water in the sea tumbled. The current sea was like a small boat rocking in a tsunami. Bam, bam, bam. At this moment, Manta Ray King's tail was emitting dazzling black demonic aura, looming over Roving Sword's body with its devil's whip. The unparalleled domineering power caused the glow on Roving Sword's body to dim. Bam! Countless devil's whips suddenly got together and stuck forcefully at Roving Sword. Roving Sword was thrown off, sinking into the deep blue sea. Oh no, what a terrifying Manta Ray King! Wang Xian, who flew over from the disordered island, was aghast. Gigi, go to hell. The tail of Manta Ray King suddenly grew long and stabbed into the sea. Sword Alps. Roar. No hesitation at all. In that instance, Wang Xian swept in with majestic energy. The seawater within a radius of 10 kilometers tumbled, forming a daunting sword Alps on the sea surface. The sword Alps of a few thousand meters stood before Manta Ray King, blocking off its tail. At the same time, Wang Xian turned into a marine divine dragon 10 meters in size. Ka. The Manta Ray King's tail stabbed into the sword Alps. The mountain-like sword Alps cracked at a rapid speed. Crazy attacking power. Wang Xian's expression changed. You're courting your own doom. Manta Ray King's eyes slowly turned red. The appearance of Wang Xian infuriated him. Wang Xian swayed his body while his tail rocked in the sea. Great waterfall water shockwave. Instantly, the water from the sea shot up straight to the sky. All the water up to 2,000 meters deep rose into the sky in a split second. As the seawater rose up, a black seabed emerged. Get out of my territory, or die. Manta Ray King spun around and fixed its eyes at Wang Xian. It flapped its scary wings, transforming into a devil shadow. It charged through the water region that rose in the sky 10 kilometers high ahead of it. Water shockwave. Wang Xian stared at the domineering Manta Ray King and exhibited a stern look on his face. His body exuded a dazzling azure glow. Boom boom. Streams of water shockwave rushed towards Manta Ray King within a radius of 10 kilometers, with water shockwaves coming one after another. Every water shockwave rose to 1,000 meters just like the twine of aquatic ropes, gathering forces of supremacy. Clang. At this time, there was another clashing sound. A 20-meter-long sword was charging toward Manta Ray King again. Wang Xian had an idea. A hole tear in the great waterfall water shockwave such that Roving Sword could charge. Oh! Along with the water shockwave force, the merciless sword slashed across. An agonized voice was heard while dark blood slowly flowed out from its body. Damn you! The devil's whip of Manta Ray King swept Roving Sword aside while his wings were flapping at a daunting frequency. What fast speed! Seeing Manta Ray King disappearing at his right-hand side immediately, Wang Xian was slightly horrified. Chapter 647, A Sweep. Illusory Dragon's Explosive Crunch. Wang Xian flexed his muscles and over 100 water divine dragons appeared around him. Each and every water divine dragon charged towards and attacked the Manta Ray King. Bam! 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 The Manta Ray King stared intensely at the overwhelming number of water divine dragons around him. Swinging its tail across, Countless devil's whips appeared and slapped towards the water divine dragons. The illusory figures that were formed from water energy were destroyed instantly. This guy is too strong. Wang Xian's expression changed drastically. Edgeless blade. At this moment, Wang Xian could hear roving swords roar. A huge sword smashed towards the Manta Ray King directly. Fuck. You guys deserve to die. The Manta Ray King growled furiously once again and was sent smashing downwards after being hit by the edgeless blade. At this very moment, the vast sea that was below the Manta Ray King previously was now blasted to a patch of pitch-black seabed. There were also countless fish that were tumbling on the seabed. The majority of them were now dead. Surrender. Wang Xian pulled a long face as he spoke. The sea region that was in the air and which spanned 10 kilometers changed drastically. A water sword that was over 100 meters smashed towards the Manta Ray King at the bottom of the sea. It was as though a terrifying rain of swords was falling down. Grr! Grr! Just you wait. The Manta Ray King extended its wings and revealed the countless wounds on it. It used its wings to shield its head, and its blood-red eyes were locked on Wang Xian. The next instant, it flew towards the faraway sea region. Wang Xian's eyebrows knitted together instantly as the seawater in the sky smashed towards the ground. Rumble. Roving Sword turned back into his human form from his golden swordfish form and moved towards Wang Xian with a solemn look. Dragon King, that Manta Ray is really strong. I'm not a match for it. If we based it on the classification of Yongchang world, it should be a middle-class immortal. It's really strong and highly intelligent. Wang Xian's eyebrows knit together. When fighting together with Roving Sword, they were barely able to suppress the Manta Ray King. If Roving Sword was to fight along, all he could do was flee. The creatures in the open sea are truly terrifying. If it flew to shore, it would be able to destroy an entire city easily. Wang Xian heaved a sigh while looking below him. The seawater fell back into the sea and was tumbling constantly. From a far distance away, Roving Heavens, Roving Lobster and the rest were swimming towards Wang Xian rapidly. What's the situation here? Wang Xian asked Roving Sword. Dragon King, this is truly a treasure ground. There are a large number of pure blood corals in this place. Other than that, there's a type of spiritual medicine known as Devil Cloud Bead. The Devil Cloud Bead would be greatly useful for devil attribute cultivators. Roving Sword gave Wang Xian an introduction. For races in the sea, the largest race would be the Manta Ray. This species of fish is extremely violent and will attack any living creature. The Manta Ray King was acting as such a while ago. Once it saw us, it attacked us the next instant. Other than the Manta Ray race, there's another small race. They were a type of mystical sea demons and exceptionally cunning. Oh, sea demons. There are other races in this region where there is an immortal class creature. Wang Xian felt a little curious. That group of sea demons is extremely cunning. They could even avoid my pursuit and the Manta Ray King might not be able to catch them either. Roving Sword explained to Wang Xian. Is that right? Wang Xian nodded his head and his eyebrows soon knitted together. It's getting a little troublesome now. If that Manta Ray King wishes to flee, we have no way of killing it at all. Moreover, with its intelligence, it is clear that it wouldn't surrender. It would be a little difficult to occupy this place. Roving Sword seconded. Although Roving Sword had just entered the immortal realm, his strength, and especially his attacking prowess, wasn't something that lower-class immortals could match. It was the same for Wang Xian. After transforming into his divine dragon form, his strength would also be a lot stronger than a lower-class immortal. They were barely able to suppress the Manta Ray King when they fought together. It would be impossible for them to kill it. If we can't occupy this place, let's sweep through this place. The edge of Wang Xian's lips curved upwards as he remarked, take all the treasures of this place along. Dragon King, Dragon King. Roving Heavens and the remaining members of the Dragon Palace arrived and greeted Wang Xian respectfully. Let's go. Follow me. Wang Xian saw many devil monkeys holding pure blood corals in their hands with many others holding black beads the size of a fist. The next instant, he flew towards the island in the disordered region. Yes. The group of Dragon Palace members followed closely behind. Those two darned fellows. How dare they barge into my territory? What the hell is the Dragon Palace? I hope they will leave as soon as possible. At this very moment, several tens of kilometers away, the manta ray king wiggled its devil's whip violently while letting out a creepy voice. He was surrounded by approximately 45 huge manta rays. Each one was at least 15 to 16 meters long with terrifying auras surrounding them. All of them were level 12 budding realm existences. The manta ray king wiggled its body and entered a mountain peak on the seabed. The remaining manta rays swam around it. Dragon King! Dragon King! On the disordered island, the Dragonians called out respectfully as soon as they saw Wang Xian arriving. Lead me to the edge of the disordered region, Wang Xian ordered the newly accepted Dragonians. Dragon King, we will be closest to the edge if we head in that direction. The leader of Devil Kid pointed to his right while speaking. All right. Wang Xian nodded his head, looked across them and said, in the future, your name will be Dragon Kid, yours will be Dragon Spirit, yours will be Dragon Wolf. Wang Xian gave each Dragonian who had reached the budding realm a name, making reference to the wandering groups they were once from. Thank you, Dragon King, for bestowing upon us new names. The newly accepted Dragonians thanked Wang Xian respectfully. Let's go. Wang Xian led the way and the group moved ahead at a terrifying speed. From this place, start sweeping ahead and kill all creatures at the inborn level and above. Sweep away all the treasures within this region and put them in the space ring. Wang Xian instructed them and threw a space ring towards Mo Qinglong, Roving Lobster, Roving Heavens, and the rest of the group. These space rings were from the 15 people from the Devil Sealing Immortal sect from Shia Cauldron World. There was a total of 10 space rings and each had a rather large storage space that allowed one to store a huge number of corpses and treasures. Yes, Dragon King. The Dragonians and members of the Dragon Palace caught the space rings and looked across the piece of sea region. Since we can't dominate this region, we can only take a step back and sweep this place. Wang Xian dived into the sea and transformed into his divine dragon form while observing the surroundings. After which, he swam rapidly forward. The best option for him would be to occupy this region. However, the shame was that there was a terrifying immortal-class manta ray around this region. Unless there are 2 more immortal-class creatures from the Dragon Palace, it will be difficult to occupy this region. Wang Xian thought deeply about it. For him to complete the first transformation of the Divine Dragon, he would require 1 billion units of dragon energy. 1 billion units of dragon energy was astronomical. It would require him to devour several thousand level 12 marine creatures for him to gather the necessary amount. 1 billion units of dragon energy would also allow him to raise roughly 20 Immortal-class Dragon Palace subordinates. I've got to raise 2 more Immortal-class Dragon Palace members as soon as possible. Chapter 648, Kraken. The Dragon Palace was still too weak. Currently, only Roving Sword and he possessed supreme-class combat capacity, and there were a dozen or more budding realm experts. As the Dragon King of Dragon Palace, it was not possible for him to suppress the entire sea region. Hence, he would need Roving Sword and the rest. However, he alone was completely useless if they encountered a situation similar to Manta Ray King. There must be 2 level 13 Dragon Palace members here to suppress this place. On top of that, it was best to have an Immortal-class expert in suppressing this place too. Hence, the best-case scenario was to have 2 Immortal-class members from Dragon Palace. With high-end combat capacity, Dragon Palace could better develop themselves. In order to establish the order in the sea, the prerequisite was to have a strong military force to suppress it. During the battle with the Manta Ray King, it had high intelligence and knew when to retreat. Knowing that it could not beat them, the Manta Ray King ran away. If there were more compelling members in Dragon Palace, they could totally take down the Manta Ray King. Even though they could not kill it, they could at least stun it and eventually rein it in. Even if Manta Ray King did not surrender and wanted to continue to stay there, it must be bound by the Dragon Palace. Immortal-class Manta Ray King's intelligence was very high, but its subordinates were otherwise. Dragon Palace could order their subordinates to go through the Dragon Gate test. If they passed the test, they would become the members of Dragon Palace. With talents and the boost in cultivation, Dragon Palace would slowly turn stronger. Fueling their combat capacity with warfare would enhance the speed of their cultivation too. If they had sufficient immortal-class experts in Dragon Palace, they could easily kill those immortal-class creatures who failed to surrender. They could suppress one place and establish an invincible force centered around Dragon Palace, or even underwater civilization. Let's hope we can comb through the resources from this disordered region to groom 2 immortal-class members of the Dragon Palace. If that's the case, the territory of the Dragon Palace will expand to 1,000 kilometers. Wang Xian pondered to himself. He surveyed the surroundings. On his left and right, a few hundred Dragon Palace members and Dragonians were scattered around a few kilometers away from him, combing the entire disordered region for treasures inch by inch. Looking ahead, he could see mountains standing under the sea in darkness. There's a pure blood coral over there. Dragon Spirit Dwarf stared at the middle of the mountain with excitement in his eyes. They had dived to the bottom of the sea. In the past, the wandering groups could only dive no more than 100 meters deep. Diving 1,000 meters in a big group was not what budding realm experts would dare to do, as the manta ray in this water region were extremely scary. Failing to seek it out, Wang Xian and Roving Sword could only survey the surroundings with vigilance to prevent Manta Ray King from sneaking an attack. There are too many pure blood corals in this entire region. Besides, the pure blood corals will still grow if we cannot clear their roots completely. The manta rays devour pure blood corals to gain their strength, while the pure blood corals devour the manta rays and the other marine creatures to enhance their own strength. This is a perfect cycle. As long as there are marine creatures in this water, the pure blood coral will not go extinct. Pure blood corals can give off a special scent to attract the marine creatures, feed on them, and grow. Even without manta rays in the disordered region, there is a large number of fishes around. Mo Qinglong, Dragon Kid, and Dragon Spirit were exchanging conversations. I guess the Devil Sealing Immortal Sect disciples also spotted this natural treasure ground. Thus, they wanted to take over this place. Wang Xian pondered as he listened to them. The members of Dragon Palace and the Dragonians discovered pure blood corals and devil cloud bead spiritual grass from time to time. Their advancing speed was fast. Even when there were occasional appearances of manta rays, Roving Sword took care of them easily. As long as the Manta Ray King was not here, this place would not pose the slightest danger to them. The entire disordered region spanned over 1,000 miles, and it would take at least half a month to comb through the area thoroughly. But they had all the time. After reporting the situation to Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyu, and the rest, Wang Xian stayed put in the disordered region. His space rings were filled with priceless pure blood corals and devil cloud beads. "Let's pluck those low-level devil cloud beads and plant them in the Dragon Palace," said Wang Xian to the members of the Dragon Palace and Dragonians. He was going to open up space for a medicine garden to grow all kinds of spiritual grass. "Ha! Dragon King, there's something odd ahead." At this time, the Dragon Spirit sounded quizzical. He fixed his eyes ahead with vigilance. "Ha!" Wang Xian looked ahead when he heard the Dragon Spirit. The Dragon Spirit was that old dwarf who was not even a meter tall. However, he possessed alertness that Dragonians did not have. They had combed through more than half of the disordered region for 6 days when they came across the region with mountains lined up ahead. Dozens of mountains were closely packed together thousands of meters away. Wang Xian furrowed his brows with a puzzled look. "What's strange about it?" asked Wang Xian, looking at Dragon Spirit. "I don't know either. When I was chased by the creepy snake group from Japan, I always had the same feeling. We are good at hiding, assassinating, deception. This place gave me a similar vibe." The small-built Dragon Spirit was looking around with all his wrinkled skin squeezing together. This made him look scary. Clang clang. Roving Sword took out his sword and put it in front of him, giving off the clanging sound of metal. A hint of doubt flashed on Wang Xian's face. His body slowly circled around. Boom. Great waterfall water shockwave. The blue energy instantly covered an area with a radius of 10 kilometers, and the whole entire region was within the coverage. Quite a good hidden means. "Is this the Kraken that you were talking about?" Wang Xian looked to Roving Sword with surprise. "Yes, Dragon King. This must be the Kraken we encountered before. It's quite creepy, not very strong, but it can easily avoid my tracking. Roving Sword nodded as he looked at the surroundings. Boom. The water within a radius of 10 kilometers vibrated immediately when Wang Xian swung his dragon claws. Whoosh. At this time, figures sharing similar colors with the sea seemed to have wriggled out from two-dimensional space, striking at Wang Xian. What a great way to hide. They are actually just 100 meters in front of us. Wang Xian was taken aback as he watched a claw that was as sharp as daggers coming at him. The claw fell on the dragon head without leaving any trace. Wang Xian jerked backward, and a blue glow appeared ahead instantly. A kraken of 1.5 meters, with two sharp claws that were bigger than its body, appeared before him. But to his surprise, the kraken showed up under the blue light for 1 second, and then vanished once again. Chapter 649, Subduing the Mysterious Demons. Mysterious Demon, Level 11. Extractable Dragon Energy, 553,353. When the information appeared in Wang Xian's mind, the figure before his eyes had completely disappeared. Despite the region before him being part of the Great Waterfall Water Shockwave and a region controlled by Wang Xian's water energy, he still couldn't sense the mysterious demon at all. Perfect concealment visually and energy-wise. This mysterious demon is truly terrifying and a natural-born assassin. Wang Xian was a little shocked. It was not surprising to him now that such creatures would be able to survive within the territory of that manta ray king. The mysterious demon was just like a chameleon. However, it was a lot more incredible than a chameleon. SSS. The disappearance of the mysterious demons before their eyes made the group of Dragonians gasp and stare vigilantly at their surroundings. Roving Sword was equally shocked. He waved his arm and blinding golden energy shrouded around him for several kilometers. Under the illumination of his metal attribute energy, several figures appeared in his sight. These figures were roughly 1.5 meters tall with emaciated bodies and razor-sharp arms. Wang. However, the moment these mysterious demons noticed they'd been discovered, their bodies shimmered and disappeared from sight a second later. Dynamic talents. A flash of light ran across Wang Xian's eyes. The blue water energy around him flickered and the range of the Great Waterfall Water Shockwave shrank rapidly. Wang. At his moment, he felt movement from a direction. Water imprisonment. Wang Xian tightened his dragon claws and rods made of water streams formed a solid cage. Bam! At this moment, a figure surfaced. Razor-sharp claws extended into the water imprisonment. It was clear that a mysterious demon was trying to save its companions from the water imprisonment. Wang Xian gripped his dragon claws once again and streams of water trapped the other mysterious demon. Wang Xian could easily crush a level 11 creature to death. With two mysterious demons trapped within cages, the entire space quietened down. Not a single mysterious demon dared to show itself again. The space of the Great Waterfall Water Shockwave shrank further as Wang Xian observed the region. Appear now and surrender. Otherwise, die. Wang Xian shouted coldly. The water region controlled by him contracted rapidly. In just a dozen seconds, the area had contracted to a radius of 1,000 meters. Wang Xian frowned and was clearly becoming impatient. Whoosh. The seawater started boiling and terrifying heat emitted from him. Screech, screech, screech. In an instant, figures appeared one after another. They had blue skin and relatively long ears. There was a total of more than 100 mysterious demons who were staring at Wang Xian and the group with deep grudges. White-colored energy emitted from their bodies as they resisted Wang Xian's boiling water attack. Hee. Are you guys going to surrender? Wang Xian stared at the 100-odd mysterious demons and revealed a faint smile. At the same time, water ropes extended and wrapped around the mysterious demons. What are you trying to achieve? We have no feud with you. The water ropes wrapped around the necks of the mysterious demons. When they tried to break free, they were surprised to find out that their attempts were futile. A relatively larger and bulkier mysterious demon stared at Wang Xian and questioned him. Surrender to me and my dragon palace, Wang Xian said in a low voice as the water ropes around their necks tightened. What benefits would we get for surrendering to you? That mysterious demon asked Wang Xian once again. It looked solemn and had eyes that seemed to be brimming with intelligence. Wang Xian was pleasantly surprised and answered plainly, "You wouldn't have to die. You wouldn't have to die." In other words, if they did not surrender, they would die. The group of mysterious demons exchanged glances, and some of them were clearly bitter about it. Wang Xian stared at them curiously. Looking at their expressions, his desire to subdue them grew even stronger. The intelligence of this group of mysterious demons could almost match the immortal class Manta Ray King. However, they were clearly a lot weaker than the Manta Ray King. Intelligence was an exemplification of the strength of a race. Although this wasn't the only criteria, creatures with higher intelligence would find it easier to reach a higher level. Nonetheless, this wasn't the main reason why Wang Xian had such interest in these mysterious demons. The main reason was for their concealment abilities. Those were simply too insane. "We are willing to accept your deployment," the mysterious demon replied with a solemn face. He. Seeing that they were feeling a little indignant, Wang Xian smiled faintly. Drops of essence blood hovered in the water. "Absorb it and do not put up any resistance. Otherwise, you will die." Wang Xian waved his arm and drops of essence blood flew to them. A total of 113 mysterious demons. They looked at the essence blood before them before turning their attention to the mysterious demon that had spoken to Wang Xian. That mysterious demon shook his head helplessly and absorbed the essence blood. The surrounding group of mysterious demons observed the reactions of that mysterious demon silently. A race that is filled with intelligence and is peace-loving. Wang Xian stared on. That mysterious demon that had absorbed the essence blood beamed with excitement. Let the other mysterious demons absorb the essence blood. Yes, Dragon King. That mysterious demon bowed respectfully and nodded his head at the surrounding mysterious demons. The surrounding group of mysterious demons did not hesitate any further as they absorbed the essence blood. 15 budding realm and the remaining are all level 11. The mysterious demon race is really strong and powerful. Moreover, their talents are really insane. Wang Xian's eyes beamed with excitement. "Greetings, Dragon King." At this moment, the mysterious demons that had consumed the essence blood went down on a knee and bowed respectfully to Wang Xian. "You must be their leader, right? Are the members of the mysterious demon clan all here?" Wang Xian waved his hand at the mysterious demon that had spoken up previously. "Yes, Dragon King." That mysterious demon nodded his head before saying, "All our members are here. This region is our nest." Wang Xian looked at the approaching mysterious demon and placed his dragon claw on his body. Indeed. Just as I expected. A really unique body composition. Wang Xian stared at the mysterious demon while mumbling to himself. Unique body constitution and bloodline were both bug-like advantages for any cultivators. Body constitution and bloodline could be differentiated into different tiers. Elite tier body constitution and bloodline could allow a creature to stand at the very peak of the entire universe. Sun Lingxiu's holy light constitution, Wang Xian's divine dragon constitution, the bloodline of the heavenly hound and the body constitution of the mysterious demon were all unique. The reason why Wang Xian was certain that the uniqueness of the mysterious demons lay in their body constitution and not their bloodline was because of their flesh and skin. Their flesh and skin possessed a very unique form of energy. This energy allowed them to conceal their figures. Natural-born killers and terrifying shadowless assassins. They could blend into any environment within a second. This ability of theirs could no longer be described as concealment. Assimilation. Perfect assimilation. Even if Wang Xian had released a region controlled by his water energy, they could still assimilate into the region rapidly, making it impossible for Wang Xian to detect their location. I wonder what kind of constitution this is. It's truly exceptionally powerful for assassination, sneak attacks, and making it hard for others to guard against an attack. Wang Xian heaved a sigh emotionally, feeling he had chanced upon a treasure this time. The value of the mysterious demon race could even match the golden swordfish race. Chapter 650, A Rewarding Trip. At present, Wang Xian was more optimistic about the development of golden swordfish and mysterious demon race, given their potential and combat capabilities. Golden swordfish practicing swordsmanship after they turned into humans were extremely daunting. Especially when Wang Xian saw the attacking means of roving sword today. Hence, he valued the future golden swordfish more. He recalled that roving sword had returned to his original golden swordfish form and transformed into the terrifying merciless sword, confronting the enemy. I'm the sword, slaying the void. If roving sword and the golden swordfish clan decided to become immersed in swordsmanship, they might become the peerless swordsmen of the universe. At that time, they could slash the starry sky with a golden longsword. As for the mysterious demon race, their talent in metamorphosis into any environment would make them the top-grade killers. Wang Xian was 2 levels higher than level 11 mysterious demon. Yet, they could remain hidden within his water energy region. Not to mention, one of them was in the immortal class realm. If the golden swordfish race could become supreme class swordsmen that could slash the starry sky, then the mysterious demon race could become unparalleled killers that eliminate thousands of enemies. Wang Xian stared at the mysterious demon with eyes full of surprise. Wang Xian regarded these 2 races highly and was looking forward to their growth. On the contrary, Wang Xian had not discovered the advantage of the Anomalocaris and devil monkeys. The potential that both races displayed was worse than the Yaksha race. The speed of the Yaksha race, combined with their attacking skills and compelling defense, made them the best guards for the Dragon Palace. I will subdue races in terms of their potential in the future, Wang Xian pondered to himself as he looked to the leader of the mysterious demon race. Today, I'll bestow upon you the name Roving Demon. You'll be responsible for any assassinations arranged by the Dragon Palace, known as the Dragon Assassinating Division. In the future, you'll be practicing light divine dragon transformation. Thank you, Dragon King. Roving Demon bowed down with respect. Wang Xian nodded slowly. Does your nest have any worldly treasures? Bring them up. Dragon King, we have some pure blood corals. Roving Demon answered. Okay, bring everything up. Mysterious demon race's constitution was in favor of light. They could make use of light to alter their body colors and aura so as to camouflage themselves in the environment. Hence, Wang Xian could only teach them the light divine dragon transformation. Practicing light-attributed skills would allow them to walk under the sun as assassins. Ha! You actually have so many pure blood corals in your lair. When Wang Xian followed them to one of the mountains, he was shocked to see the number of pure blood corals. There were about 1,000 tufts of them. Each of them was on par with level 6 elixir pills. More than 1,000 tufts of pure blood corals are much more than what we had searched for in half of the disordered region. They are very valuable. It looks like the mysterious demons have collected quite a number of treasures with their daunting concealment skills. No wonder all of them are at least level 11, and not a single inborn could be found. Wang Xian was thrilled. The number of pure blood corals was equivalent to over 100 million points of dragon energy, which could help a Dragon Palace member to advance to the immortal realm. Prime Minister Turtle must advance to immortal first. Then, the remaining materials should be able to cultivate another one. Let's go. Wang Xian was elated as he raised his voice at the Dragonians and members of the Dragon Palace. All of them continued to swim ahead. Subsequently, Wang Xian and his gang killed all the manta ray they met along the way in the disordered region, reaping all the pure blood corals and devil cloud beads. Days passed, and the resources Wang Xian gained were increasing at a terrifying rate. Dragon King, the nest of the manta ray is straight ahead. When Wang Xian and the gang arrived at a massive mountain in the bottom of the sea 4 days later, Roving Demon appeared by his side to remind him. Is it here? Wang Xian looked at the mountain that was towering over the sea with radiance flickering in his eyes. He looked ahead and spotted a pair of bloodshot pupils staring right in his direction. Let's take a detour. Wang Xian did not want to provoke this fellow and decided to make a detour out of the Manta Ray King's region. Seeing them taking another route around it, the Manta Ray King went back to his nest. He knew he was not a match for those 2 fellows. Since they did not provoke him, he would jolly well turn a blind eye. He was not a fool. Whoosh. 13 days later, Wang Xian surfaced out from the water and transformed back to his human form. Behind him, Dragonians followed and stood on the water. We're at the end of it. Wang Xian had a faint smile on his face. They had reached the end after combing through the entire disordered region, and almost all the treasures were ransacked from it. Let's go back. I wonder if Shuqing is awake. Xiao Yu, Qing Yu, and the rest should be anxiously waiting for me. Wang Xian slowly walked ahead as he spoke with an indifferent tone. Dragon Kid walked to Wang Xian and asked respectfully, Dragon King, the Devil Kid has a luxurious yacht. Should I steer it over? Go on. Wang Xian nodded. In less than 10 minutes, a yacht of a size more than 100 meters long steered over. It was white in color, looking extravagant. The yacht was divided into 4 stories. Dragon King, I got the shipping company to make this for me while I provided the materials. It can withstand up to a level 8's full-blown attack. The interior is also decorated in the most high-class style. Dragon Kid walked over and spoke to Wang Xian with high esteem. Let's go. Wang Xian looked at the yacht and laughed. Even if this kind of yacht was made of average materials, it would be worth more than $1 billion. However, money was nothing but a worldly possession to Wang Xian. He had seen at least a few hundred shipwrecks in the sea. There was gold, jewelry, porcelain, and other precious artifacts that could add up to hundreds of billions, if not trillions. Wang Xian had been letting them lie around in the sea. Now he needed spiritual stones the most. When the 9 cauldron worlds descended into the real world, spiritual stones would become the currency. Let's head to Glacier Coral Island. Wang Xian flew to the highest story of the yacht with a beaming face. He stood on the deck in front of the most luxurious lounge, staring ahead. The rest of the Dragon Palace members followed behind at a farther distance. The treasures within the space ring will suffice for cultivating another 2 immortal-class experts. One of them will be Prime Minister Turtle, but who should I choose next? Wang Xian touched his own space ring with a hesitant look. Roving Heavens, Roving Yakshaw, 9 venomous snakes, Roving Animalicaris, Roving Lobster, Roving Girl. Perhaps, I can get them to spar. Whoever wins will be promoted to the immortal realm. Wang Xian raised his eyebrows. This was a feasible method, as he could also witness their strength. Chapter 651, The Anomaly of Mount Taibai. I heard something strange has happened to Mount Taibai in China. The entire mountain range is just like an immortal region. White-colored spiritual energy shrouded the entire mountain range and the place is cordoned off right now. Really? So magical. I heard it from a friend of mine from China. He said something huge has happened there. Although the entire region of China is behind the times, it had its glory days in the past and has many ancient ruins. Perhaps someone has discovered one of them. Should we head over to take a look? I think we can forget about it. I heard that this incident has drawn the attention of various international forces in Asia. The creepy snake of Japan has already headed there. Glacier Coral Island. Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyu, and the other 3 girls sat in a restaurant by the sea. Several young men walked past them and were discussing softly. Ruins. Xiao Yu and the girls exchanged glances before turning to the group of young men with curiosity. The 4 young men sat beside them with a tinge of arrogance and pride. They leaned back against their chairs and continued discussing casually. Hi, handsome. I overheard you saying that something strange has happened to Mount Taibai of China. Could you elaborate in detail? Xiao Yu looked to one of the young men and asked this with a smile. When the 4 young men heard Xiao Yu, they were taken aback slightly. His eyes beamed with excitement the moment he turned around as he answered, Oh? Hey, pretty, are you from China? Yeah. Can you elaborate on the matter in detail? Xiao Yu asked with a smile. You girls haven't heard about it. Dense spiritual energy has descended on Mount Taibai of China. Do you girls know about spiritual energy? Are you girls martial artists? A handsome young man smiled and observed the girls as he replied with a smile. I don't know. What happened after that? Xiao Yu asked curiously. Spiritual energy flowed down like water and into the mountain range. Several tens of kilometers around the mountain range now resemble an immortal region. If an ordinary person were to live in that area, that insane level of spiritual energy would allow one to become a martial artist easily. As the young man spoke, He gestured to the waitress by the side and said, "Please get these beautiful girls a glass of red wine each." "That's not necessary." Xiao Yu shook her head and thanked him. "Sisters-in-law, do you all think that's because the 9 cauldron worlds are starting to descend into the real world?" Xiao Yu asked curiously. "That's a possibility. When Xiao Xian gets back, let's tell him about it." The expressions on Lan Qingyu and the girls instantly turned serious. They had heard from Wang Xian how exceptionally powerful the 9 cauldron worlds were. There were several immortal realm experts and over 100 budding realm experts. If the 9 cauldron worlds were to descend into the real world, the rules of the underworld would undergo huge changes. "Yeah. We've got to increase our strength as soon as possible. Otherwise, we might be in real danger in the future. We can't be dragging Xiao Xian down again." Son Ling Xiu chuckled. "Sister-in-law Ling Xiu, the cultivation speed of you 3 is much faster than me and my master. Moreover, you look so much better than us. Our forms are simply too ugly." Xiao Yu pouted. Recalling her image as the skeletal dragon, she couldn't cheer herself up. "Haha. Xiao Yu, are you thinking of getting a boyfriend now? Why are you so concerned about your appearance suddenly?" "Sister-in-law, what are you saying?" The girls joked around. Every action of theirs released a charm that made the 4 young men sitting beside them swallow their saliva. "Hey, pretties, do you mind if we sit by you?" A young man couldn't hold back and stood up. He held a glass of red wine in his hand and asked them softly, "We mind." "Sorry." Ajaya looked across them and answered plainly, "Huh. Hey, pretties, aren't you going to show us some face?" That young man's expression stiffened and he didn't stop walking over. With a gentle smile, he sat on a seat beside the girls. Bam! The moment he sat down, the chair fell back onto the ground. The young man was shocked. Just as he wanted to stand up, he suddenly felt a force weighing down on him. His body was pressed into the ground directly. The huge commotion drew the attention from the surrounding crowd. "Hee. We have already told you that we mind and yet you choose to walk over." Xiao Yu looked at him with mocking eyes while wearing a radiant smile. "Xiao Xian is here. Let's go." At this moment, Lan Qingyu saw a message on her phone and said this to Xiao Yu and the girls. "Let's go." Xiao Yu and the girls smiled and stood up. "You girls must be too eager to die." Fires of fury were smoldering in the eyes of that young man as he stood up immediately. Boom. However, a terrifying aura swept across his body at this instant. That young man was astonished as he slumped onto the floor in fear. The other 3 young men were equally shocked by what they witnessed. "Wow, what a huge luxury yacht." Xiao Yu and the girls walked towards the giant yacht, which stopped by the beach, with excitement. They exclaimed with ecstasy, "It's just a yacht. Look at how happy you are." Xiao Xian smiled at Xiao Yu and continued, "How was it? Have you girls enjoyed yourselves over the last few days?" "Pretty good." The 5 girls continued observing the huge luxurious yacht inquisitively. The luxurious yacht was initially built for leisure. There were various kinds of entertainment on it and it had several luxurious rooms on the 2nd level. It was several dozen times better than the one that they had taken to this place. "Let's head back and see if Shuqing has gotten better," Wang Xian said to them. "Oh yeah, Xiao Xian. We heard something a while ago. You can check it out on the Underworld website." Lan Qingyu told Wang Xian what they had heard about the incident. Wang Xian's expression turned a little serious as he retrieved his phone and entered the Underworld website. The current Underworld website was a lot quieter than in the past as the entire Underworld had become more peaceful. At this moment, there was almost no longer any killings in the Underworld. Everyone was just growing silently. However, Mount Taibai had experienced some anomaly just a few days ago. Dense spiritual energy flowed down the sky and into the mountain range as though it was water. This matter had instantly stirred up the entire underworld. All the martial artists swarmed towards Mount Taibai frantically. "This is crazy. Too crazy. I have advanced 2 levels in a single day. The spiritual energy around here is just like flowing water. Staying within it can cleanse one's meridians and channels. A while ago, a monkey even grew into a huge 5-meter ape. This is too shocking. Let me tell everyone a piece of bad news. There are martial artists from overseas who have headed there. These forces are likely beyond what we can handle. Wang Xian was astonished as he went through these threads. The 9 cauldron worlds have descended into the real world. However, this shouldn't be happening. The spiritual energy within the 9 cauldron worlds isn't even this horrifying. What's happening? Wang Xian immediately made a call to the Dragonians responsible for the Omniscient group and requested that they send him all the information on that place. This is likely to be still related to the 9 cauldron world. Chapter 652, Another 2 Immortals. Anomaly of Mount Tai Bai. The yacht was moving in the direction of the Dragon Palace at a fast speed. Wang Xian was sitting in his chair, reading the information in his hand while Lan Qingyu and the rest of the girls crowded together with curiosity. The anomaly of Mount Tai Bai started 5 days ago. A sudden surge of spiritual energy in the air rushed to the mountain range like flowing water, causing a drastic change to places within a radius of less than 20 kilometers. With the sweeping of the spiritual energy, all the ordinary beasts grew larger by 3 to 4 meters, turning them into powerful creatures. Under the wash of the spiritual energy, martial artists greatly enhanced their cultivation. Within 5 days, dozens of inborn experts emerged. Where did this spiritual energy come from? No one knew about it. All the martial artists of the underworld gathered at this place. It streams down from mid-air. Hence, it must come from the 9 cauldron worlds. I wonder what happened. But what makes it even weirder was that the spiritual energy did not dissipate in the air but streamed into the mountain. Wang Xian was full of curiosity as he read the data. With such an immense amount of spiritual energy entering the mountain, wouldn't that form a spiritual ore mine? Asked Ajaya with slight surprise. Totally possible. I guess Mount Tai Bai has become an immortal mountain now. Wang Xian's eyes were gleaming. This is a great chance. Let's return to China in a few days' time. It's time to go back too. The girls nodded. Back on Mount Tai Bai, thick and dense spiritual energy poured down to the mountain range from mid-air just like a waterfall. Martial artists were sitting with their legs crossed at the foot of it, absorbing all the spiritual energy with excitement. An area not far from them was divided into 2 different worlds by a compelling force. On the other side of the world, 5 significant obscure figures were standing in the air, staring at the colossal cauldron above them. The cauldron was enormous, containing an incomparably insane level of energy. The energy was imposing and vast, just like the sea. At the same time, the spiritual energy from heaven and earth was flowing out of the 100-meter cauldron. Those long divided shall be united, those long united shall be divided, such is the way of the universe. The 9 cauldrons are returning to earth. What a surprise! The current real world was no longer our world, and the 9 cauldrons are returning to their homes. A great figure murmured with a voice that sounded like a large bell, sending his voice across the sky. The 9 cauldrons were refined by 9 dragon veins with their great might. Now that they are returning to where they belong, there will be 9 immortal areas emerging in this world. Our array in the world is weakened. Hence, those inborn and beyond will not have any danger to their lives if they get out now. At most, severe injuries. Send some disciples out and began their cultivation at this immortal mountain range. When our world descends into the real world, we will divide the mountains again. 2 more months before our Shia Cauldron world descends into the real world. At that time, how are we going to face it? The world has changed and divided with different kings ruling it. Since we are entering the real world, we can only influence the world, but not change it. If we can't change it, we have to adapt to it. The most important thing is our resources. The figures took turns speaking. As the 5 pinnacles of the Shia Cauldron, their words sealed the fate of millions of people. Greetings to the Dragon King. Back in the Dragon Palace, all the Dragon Palace members knelt in the Dragon King Hall, greeting Wang Xian with respect. I called you guys here to make an announcement. Today, there will be a sparring competition in the Dragon Palace. Apart from Prime Minister Turtle, I'll enhance the strength of the strongest person over here to the next level. Apart from that, the remaining Devil Division, Dragon Guard Division, Dragon Assassinating Division, and Animalicaris race will be divided into smaller teams based on the strength of the experts. We'll be doing training, formation changing, and choosing the team captains. From now on, every head of division and the team captains will gain extra cultivation resources, said Wang Xian to them slowly. Establishing a set of complete rules was suggested by Prime Minister Turtle. He had devised detailed rules for every division's training and development. Amongst them, the selection of the leaders was the top priority. The rules established by Prime Minister Turtle was a combination of ancient and modern systems, forming a set of a complete system. This could better stimulate and enhance the strength of the Dragon Palace members. The main reason accounting for the army becoming powerful was discipline. According to Prime Minister Turtle's idea, not only must the members be restricted with military rules, but they must also cultivate themselves under a high degree of pressure. Dragon Field was not a decoration. They must make use of it to spar and test their battle techniques. In addition, there would be a promotion system based on strength. The stronger ones would get access to more resources. Competitions would be held regularly in Dragon Palace. That was only one part of it. After Prime Minister Turtle groomed a team of wise and intelligent civil officials, all the Dragon Palace members could learn from them. Yes, Dragon King. The group of Dragon Palace members answered in sync. At present, the members of the Dragon Palace might have had high intelligence. Still, they did not possess the mindsets of humans in society. Commands and orders were the only things they understood. This could be good and bad. But when their strength hit a certain level, they would think further. This train of thought was a good thing, as this represented the birth of a true civilization. Fall in at the Dragon Field. With a swift movement, Wang Xian arrived at the Dragon Field. Standing in front of the members, he said, "Among the leaders of level 12, I'll enhance the strongest one to the next level. If you think you're the strongest, step forward for the challenge. Roar, Dragon King. Let me do it." The first to step forward was Roving Heavens. He was 7 meters tall with a body of dark fur. Under the fur was layers of scales. His burly muscles were even bulging out. He was carrying a huge, 7-meter metallic rod on his shoulder. "Who will challenge me, Roving Heavens?" Roving Heavens let out a loud bellow as he placed his rod down, staring at Roving Yakshaw and 9 venomous snakes with burning fighting spirit in his eyes. Wang Xian looked at Roving Heavens with a smile on his face. Wang Xian did not consider the strength of Roving Heavens to be the strongest. However, his insane combat capability and desire were above all the other members. "Me." Roving Yakshaw, looking on impassively, pointed at Roving Heavens with the fork in his hand. "We fight." Roar. The first competition in the Dragon Palace had officially begun. Violent devilish aura surged from Roving Heavens. The furious aura caused some of the weaker members to stagger back immediately. The devil monkey is violent. The more violent it gets, the more terrifying it becomes. Apart from Roving Sword, Roving Heavens should be ranked number 1 within the Dragon Palace. At this time, Prime Minister Turtle's voice surprised Wang Xian. "Ha! Roving Heavens is the strongest. Roving Yakshaw, Roving Demon, and 9 venomous snakes should not be weaker than Roving Heavens, right?" asked Wang Xian with surprise. "Dragon King, even I could not withstand the violent attacks from Roving Heavens when it comes to a life-and-death match. Dragon King, watch, and you'll find out." Chapter 653, The Dragon King Preaching Tao 1. Roar, roar, roar. The violent roars, the terrifying devilish aura, and the blood-boiling battle. This is. Wang Xian was shocked to see the battle in the Dragon Field as he turned to look around him. Around him, various Dragon Palace members stared intensely at the battle between Roving Heavens and Roving Yakshaw on the Dragon Field. The Yakshaw race, Animalicaris race, and Mysterious Demon race were frowning as they watched the battle. However, the Devil Monkey race was completely different. All the members of the Devil Monkey race could feel the strong battle desires from their leader. Their eyes were slightly red and their hairs stood up. The terrifying battle will was released without any intention of masking it. Those with dark attributes favored battle from birth. The more they fought, the more excited they would get. Fresh blood made their own blood boil. The more they fought, the braver and stronger they would get. Wang Xian looked into the field. When the battle started, Roving Heavens was constantly being knocked back by Roving Yaksha's water energy. However, as the battle went on, huge fangs appeared in Roving Heaven's mouth. His eyes were also starting to turn red. All his hair stood up and the speed of the metal rod in his hand grew faster and faster with escalating strength. Gradually, Roving Yaksha could only defend passively. When it came to defending, Roving Yaksha was indeed better. He was adept in diverting the brunt of the attack as he manipulated water waves to redirect powerful attacks. However, passive defending would eventually lead to defeat. After 10 minutes, Roving Yaksha lost. Roving Heavens didn't stop there. He continued the challenge and fought more and more bravely. One venomous sea snake charged towards and attacked Roving Heavens. The venomous sea snake was exceptionally fast. Those who were weaker could only see a green shadow moving across. When facing the venomous sea snake in battle, Roving Heavens suffered several wounds within a short period of several tens of seconds. However, when his violent body was completely covered in pitch-black dragon scale armor, the outcome of the battle soon became clear. When the devil monkeys rage, their blood boils and the divine dragon bloodline in them will be completely triggered. Wang Xian mumbled to himself. Looking at the illusory vision of a divine dragon on Roving Heavens, he was completely astounded. When his bloodline was completely triggered, he could even challenge those that were stronger than him. He was even stronger when compared to the venomous sea snake who possessed the wind divine dragon bloodline. Let me give it a try. Roving Demon flexed and disappeared from everyone's vision without a trace. Roving Heavens observed his surroundings in shock. Assassination. The true assassination. Wang Xian was slightly surprised. Even he couldn't sense where the traceless Roving Demon was. This was indeed frightening. Roving Heavens was hit several times consecutively and wounds the size of a fist appeared across his chest. However, when Roving Heavens closed his eyes, Wang Xian realized a unique talent of the devil monkey. Ears. Their ears were shaking constantly. Bam! When Roving Demon attacked, Roving Heavens met him directly. Roving Demon had to show itself when he attacked. When he saw Roving Heavens meet him directly, he was astonished and was knocked back several steps. According to the legends, the dragon has 9 sons with different talents. Those powerful descendants are not any weaker than their father. Now that we have inherited the essence blood from the Dragon King, we are unique sons of the dragon. As we cultivate, we will awaken different abilities. Beside Wang Xian, Prime Minister Turtle explained, after Roving Sword broke through to level 13, it triggered part of his divine dragon bloodline and he obtained the unique talent of Metal Edge Body. As for Roving Heavens, despite not reaching level 13, he has triggered even more of his bloodline than Roving Sword. Wang Xian was enlightened. He looked into the field and said, the talents of Roving Heavens are indeed a little unique. I wonder what kind of abilities he will be granted. Prime Minister Turtle also looked ahead curiously. Defeat. Defeat. Roving Heavens challenged Roving Yaksha, Venomous Sea Snake, and Roving Demon consecutively and defeated all of them. This had completely exceeded Wang Xian's expectations. Roving Lobster and Roving Girl had just reached level 12. It wouldn't be necessary for them to participate in the battle as they wouldn't be a match either. As for the following battle, the strength of the leader of the Animalakaris race had also exceeded Wang Xian's expectation. His fist was fast and furious and carried powerful electric powers. He was just as mighty and powerful as the Thunder God. It seems like Lady Luck is really shining on me. The Devil Monkey race and Animalakaris race aren't as weak as I had expected. Wang Xian was pleasantly surprised. In the Dragon Palace, Roving Heavens was the strongest, followed by the 9 venomous sea snakes. Subsequently, it would be Roving Demon and the budding realm experts of the mysterious demon race, Roving Yaksha, and the newly advanced Roving Lobster and Roving Girl. Roving Yaksha being relatively weaker was within Wang Xian's expectation. His strength lay in group attacks. The Yaksha's talents were in teamwork. When working together with their race members, they could launch terrifying attacks that were far beyond what they could do individually. Following this was the battles between Dragon Palace members below level 12. The entire grand contest lasted for 2 days and Wang Xian stood by the side all along while watching. They would form the foundation of the Dragon Palace and he had rather high expectations for them. Prime Minister Turtle and Roving Heavens, follow me. After the grand contest had ended, Wang Xian spoke to them in a solemn voice. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle and Roving Heavens followed Wang Xian to the Dragon King Hall, feeling a little excited. I'll raise both of your strength to level 13. Wang Xian waved his arm and dense streams of dragon energy flowed into their bodies. This dragon energy was extracted entirely from the pure blood corals and would be sufficient to raise 2 people to the immortal realm. Growling, grr. Huge changes were happening on the bodies of Roving Heavens and Prime Minister Turtle. Prime Minister Turtle reverted to his initial form. His huge 10-meter body gradually grew to 15 meters and the pattern on his shell deepened and became clearer. There were patterns of the sun, moon, and stars, and one would be able to tell that it was extraordinary with a single look. As for Roving Heavens, he grew 2 additional ears. This greatly surprised Wang Xian. Thank you, Dragon King. Terrifying auras emanated from their bodies. They went down on their knees and shouted respectfully. Roving Heavens, who had reached the immortal realm, would be able to grow to roughly 2 meters. He manipulated the 7-meter metal rod in his hands and stuffed it within his ears directly. Wang Xian was stunned to witness it. Sun Wukong. Too, however, there was a difference between Sun Wukong and Roving Heavens. For the great sage equaling heaven, Sun Wukong, he simply shrank his golden rod. For Roving Heavens, it was because of the powerful ability of his ears. I might really be able to raise a devil monkey capable of destroying worlds in the future. Wang Xian thought to himself and couldn't help but smile. Dragon King, I believe there's one more thing we should do now. At this moment, Prime Minister Turtle wiggled his body. To Wang Xian's astonishment, Prime Minister Turtle shed his turtle shell, shrank it, and held it in his hand. He caressed his turtle shell as he spoke to Wang Xian. Huh? What's the matter? Wang Xian looked at Prime Minister Turtle. Wang Xian was completely convinced of Prime Minister Turtle's intelligence at this moment. Having an old and wise official proposing and executing plans for him was a great thing for him. Preaching Tao. 3. Preaching Tao? Wang Xian was a little confused. That's right, it's about preaching Tao. In the legends of China, a saint preaching Tao could enlighten thousands and grant intelligence to countless living creatures. All living creatures are capable of cultivation. Dragon King, you could preach Tao in the Dragon Palace. The billions of marine creatures within the region of the Dragon Palace could listen in. Through preaching Tao, their intelligence might be manifested. Even if they failed to do so, they would still be able to roughly understand the concept of cultivation. Perhaps there will be a day that they undergo a metamorphosis and their chances of leaping through the Dragon Gate will be higher. Chapter 654, The Dragon King Preaching Tao, 2. Preaching Tao. Upon hearing what Prime Minister Turtle said, Wang Xian was shaken once again. Establishing an empire was shocking enough for him. Preaching Tao like the saints in the olden days? He never dared to have this thought. Preaching Tao is to educate the billions of marine creatures. Education is not so simple as you think. Prime Minister Turtle lowered his head and stared at the palm-sized shell in his hand. For marine creatures, it is difficult for them to activate their spiritual intelligence. They must have an enlightenment. Most importantly, this is to lay a strong foundation for the Dragon Palace members. Of course, we wouldn't take that long to develop into a stage similar to human beings with the resources in the ocean. Human civilization development took thousands of years to reach where it is today. In fact, the cultivation of humans has occurred for over 1,000 years. With the guidance of the Dragon Palace in the ocean and your preaching of Tao, billions of marine creatures will be able to transform into dragons within a century. Perhaps there will be immortals all over the sea after a century. But of course, the prerequisite is to have sufficient resources. Prime Minister Turtle's eyes were beaming with wisdom. The turtle shell in his hand was glowing with mustard radiance. Wang Xian was startled. Just as Prime Minister Turtle said, humans took thousands of years to develop civilization on land, while there was none in the sea. What could be the possible reason for this? Were the marine creatures too dumb? If he could preach Tao and enlighten billions of marine creatures, then they could also form a civilization. Oceans occupied 70% of Earth's surface. Thus, the resources were several times more than what could be found on land. The time to establish a civilization might be shortened by 10 times. Prime Minister Turtle, what's that turtle shell in your hand for? Asked Wang Xian with curiosity as he stared at the shell that was giving off a mustard glow. Changes on Earth bring the rise of civilization, and the planet is made up of everything on Earth. I sensed something mystical from this turtle shell of mine, just like it was describing the planet's changes, Prime Minister Turtle murmured, and he seemed unsure of what exactly his shell did. In that case, you'll organize the session, and I'll preach Tao. Wang Xian nodded and spoke to Prime Minister Turtle. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle nodded immediately and went off to settle it. Wang Xian cast a glance at Roving Heavens, who looked like an evil monkey, ready to wreak havoc. He grinned and said, "The devil monkeys are rather weak now. You guys have to do more training." "Yes, Dragon King. The Devil Division will become the strongest unit in the Dragon Palace from now on," Roving Heavens answered with respect as he headed out with determination. Wang Xian was very satisfied as he watched Roving Heavens. "Xiao Xian, fights are going on in the underworld. Sui family and Xiao family are seeking your assistance." At this time, Lan Qingyu and the other girls flitted over as soon as they saw him finishing his business. "Ha! What happened?" Wang Xian was puzzled as he looked at them. Now, the overseas factions have taken over Mount Taibai. All the people from the underworld have either been killed or expelled from there. They are now occupying that area with haughtiness. Sui Huang and Xiao Quanshan would like you to strike as those foreign guys are simply too arrogant. They want you to chase them away, said Lan Qingyu and Xiao Yu. Ha! Really? Wang Xian narrowed his eyes slightly. If they are international forces, they must be from Asia. Yes, from Japan, India, Korea, and other international forces. Elder Fang nodded. The news about Mount Taibai has been going around. Given the underworld's strength, it's impossible for them to protect that place. Hence, it's been taken over by a group of overseas forces, and those people were extremely cocky. They kept saying China has no talents and calling us names like sick man of East Asia. Xiao Xian, should we go and teach them a lesson? Elder Fang was slightly infuriated as she spoke. The rest of the girls were also elated to fight it out with them. Sick man of East Asia. Ha ha. Wang Xian revealed a faint smile as coldness flashed in his eyes. Yes, we should go. But I need another 2 days to preach Tao to these billions of marine creatures here. Preaching Tao? Awesome. Our Dragon King will definitely live a long life and enjoy a lifetime of prosperity. Xiao Yu brightened up her eyes and giggled. Wang Xian patted her head. This concerns the future development of Dragon Palace. Reply to Sui Huang and Xiao Quanshan and tell them that I'll be back in 2 days. Sure. Xiao Yu nodded. I'll reply to them. Brother, when will sister-in-law Shuqing wake up? I'm not sure. Shuqing is full of strong vitality now, as daunting power is hidden within her body. After she wakes up, she might be more powerful than me. But I'm not sure why she is still in her sleep. This is the first time that I've seen a phoenix nirvana. Wang Xian sighed as he looked at Guan Shuqing, who was lying quietly on his dragon throne. She was shrouded in the flames of the boundless branch, but no one knew the reason why she was still sleeping. Shuqing is fine, and she'll wake up one day. You don't have to worry. Lan Qingyu and Ajaya consoled them. Wang Xian nodded. He was not that worried since they would find a way to wake her up as long as she was full of vitality. Let's go. We should get some rest now. Wang Xian, who had not rested for 3 days, took Lan Qingyu, Ajaya, and Sun Lingxiu back to his royal residence hall. Xiao Yu could not help but roll her eyes. After a session of lovemaking, Wang Xian lay on his bed and rested. Dragon King, Prime Minister Turtle said the class is ready. You may begin your preaching. After a dozen hours, Roving Girl's voice was heard outside of the room. Prime Minister Turtle had specially arranged for Roving Girl to provide morning call services similar to the role of a maidservant in Dragon Palace. Wang Xian could not help but feel that Prime Minister Turtle would be a competent majordomo in the future. Great! As soon as Wang Xian's voice was heard, he walked out of his royal residence hall. But he was astonished when he came to the surroundings of the Dragon Palace. Billions of marine creatures in myriad colors and forms were packed around him. The number of marine creatures was 10 times more than those that had been there when they did the leap at the Dragon Gate. 8-meter sharks, 10-meter killer whales, close to 20-meter whales, and different forms of marine creatures were swimming around him. Countless living creatures filled the space around him for more than 10 kilometers. It was extremely scary when one looked at it. Xiao Lan, 70 meters in size, was slowly swimming above the Dragon Palace, exuding an imposing might. All the marine creatures remained peaceful as they floated around with discipline. All of you are citizens of my Dragon Palace. To the countless living creatures, I, the Dragon King, will be preaching Tao today to kickstart and enlighten your path towards cultivation. Wang Xian made a move and transformed into a divine dragon. He slowly landed on top of Xiao Lan, above the Dragon Palace. His mighty roar traveled through the 4 seas. Chapter 655, Get Out of the Territory of China, 1. All of you are citizens of my Dragon Palace. To the countless living creatures, I, the Dragon King, will be preaching Tao today to kickstart and enlighten your path towards cultivation. A voice with a majestic aura entered the minds of every marine animal in the sea. The divine dragon was the king of the marine races. He could understand any languages of marine animals. At the same time, his words could reach the minds of every single type of marine race. This was the powerful talent of the divine dragon race. This was also a terrifying ability of the ruler of the marine animals. Around them, billions of marine animals shivered. They looked towards Wang Xian and felt respect and fear that originated from their very core. Wang Xian rested his body against Xiao Lan. The huge 70-meter Kuan hovered in the water without moving an inch. This scene made countless marine animals even more fearful and respectful towards the Dragon King. The cultivation path of marine animals starts with absorbing the spiritual energy within heaven and earth. Today, I'll impart all of you with the path of cultivation. Wang Xian's voice entered the minds of each and every marine animal. This group of billions of marine animals couldn't understand what Wang Xian was preaching. Only a very vague concept lingered in their minds. Wang Xian couldn't do anything about it at all. However, all he was trying was to place a seed within the billions of marine animals. This seed would gradually germinate as they grew stronger and eventually reaped the rewards. For the cultivation arts of the marine animals, Wang Xian imparted upon them the simplest way of absorbing spiritual energy. Absorbing spiritual energy from heaven and earth and digesting spiritual energy. Wang Xian had only imparted these 2 methods. Despite wanting to achieve more, imparting too many methods might overwhelm these fishes which did not possess intelligence yet and wouldn't be able to memorize most of these methods. He spoke really slowly. With just a thought, image after image appeared within the minds of various marine animals. Billions of marine animals remained stationary and silent. Some marine animals even closed their eyes. It was especially so for dolphins, tiger whales, and other marine animals who had relatively higher intelligence. They were trying to memorize and understand deeper. The preaching of Tao will end here for today. The next session will be announced by the Dragon Palace again. If you wish to become stronger and become a true ruler, cultivate diligently. Wang Xian said slowly, "My citizens, you are dismissed." Whoosh. When Wang Xian finished his last sentence, the marine animals at the edges moved and swam away. Sea turtles, sea snakes, fish, sea leopards, sea horses, and others left rapidly in an orderly manner. I wonder how many marine animals among the billions could cultivate, become experts of the marine races and leap through the Dragon Gate. Wang Xian mumbled to himself. He moved and entered the Dragon Palace. Now that the seed had been planted, they had to rely on their own encounters. Since he had started on his first session of preaching Tao, Wang Xian was prepared to host more sessions at regular intervals. At the same time, he could check on the progress of evolution for these marine animals. Xiao Xian, has it ended? Seeing Wang Xian flying over, Lan Qingyu asked. Yeah. I'm done. Let's head back to China. Wang Xian nodded his head and said to the girls. All right. The 5 girls nodded their heads happily. Xiao Yu even clenched her fists excitedly and said, I'm going to occupy an entire mountain for my Thistles and Thorns sect. All hail the queen of the Thistles and Thorns sect. Lan Qingyu and the girls chuckled and flew away. Roving Sword didn't follow this time. He was heading towards the disordered region with Roving Heavens to suppress the Manta Ray King. The Dragon Palace wanted the entire disordered region to be under its control. That would be a relatively more important piece of land for the Dragon Palace to obtain resources. Let's go. Xiao Yu and the rest stood at the top deck of the yacht. They extended their arms in excitement as the yacht steered towards Rivertown. Mt. Taibai was the separation line for northern and southern China. It lay in the central region of China. This was also the largest mountain range in China. As for Mount Taibai, it was also one of the most well-known mountains in all of China. Mount Taibai was an exceptionally famous scenic spot. At this moment, the entire Mount Taibai was just like an immortal region. From a long distance away, one could see spiritual energy flowing down like a waterfall. Below it, a dozen-odd mountain peaks were shrouded within the spiritual energy. Among them, the tallest peak also had the densest concentration of spiritual energy. Spiritual energy entered the mountain range as though it was water. Around the base of these mountains, countless martial artists sat on the ground and were absorbing spiritual energy frantically. Spiritual energy could cleanse one's channels and meridians. When immersed in such terrifyingly dense spiritual energy, it wouldn't take more than 5 days for a level 9 martial artist to reach the inborn realm. As for inborn experts, they would be able to reach the Dan realm within 1 to 2 months under the cleansing of the terrifyingly dense spiritual energy. Ordinary martial artists could cleanse the impurities within their bodies simply by being below it. Chance encounter. A terrifyingly insane chance encounter. For the majority of martial artists in the underworld, this was definitely the greatest chance encounter they could possibly have. Yet, at this very moment, over 10,000 people had gathered on a mountain beside Mount Taibai. All the martial artists in the entire underworld had gathered. There were even some wealthy moguls who had come. The group looked extremely gloomy. Those groups of bastards occupied each mountain and didn't allow us to get close. For those who can't occupy a mountain, they still prohibited us from going over. They should know that they are in the territory of China. What should we do? Dear Laosis from various sacred clans and sects, are we just going to watch them occupy this bountiful land and seize resources that belong to us? They killed several dozens of my Qingfeng sect just because of a dispute and humiliated our female disciples. Dear Laosis from various sacred clans and sects, you've got to teach them a lesson for us. Beside the mountain, various martial artists of the underworld remarked furiously and sorrowfully as they looked at the Laosis from their sacred clans and sects. Highs. The difference in strength between them and us is truly too huge. We aren't a match for them at all. They are simply too strong for us. An old man from Reed Spirits of Diabolism pulled a long face and heaved a sigh. Currently, there were only 3 remaining sacred clans in the underworld: Sui clan, Xiao clan, and Jiyu clan. Qiao clan and Donghua clan had been annihilated by the Dragon King. As for sacred sects, it was even more pathetic. Only the Sacred Followers Guild, Imperial Beast Sect, Sacred Seas of Swords and Reed Spirits of Diabolism still existed. As for the remaining sacred sects and powerful sects under Diabolism, they were all annihilated by the Dragon Sect. Reed Spirits were the strongest among them with 3 Dan Realm experts. As for the rest, they only had 1 each. However, Imperial Beast Sect and Sacred Seas of Swords weren't here, and the guild leader of the Sacred Followers Guild wasn't here either. There was only a total of 5 Dan Realm experts. This was because the Jiyu clan was annihilated by a force from overseas 2 days before. The Dan Realm expert from Jiyu clan was killed by a single strike. When the Jiyu clan was annihilated and the Dan Realm expert was killed, all the martial artists in the underworld were shocked. When various overseas forces looked down from above, all of them could only retreat from that place. They didn't dare to make any retaliation. If they were to say a single no, they would be killed on the spot. Several overseas forces even mocked them as the sick man of Asia. Yet, all they could do was to endure the mockery. Chapter 656, Get Out of the Territory of China, 2. The current underworld was too weak. Ever since the various sacred sects and clans were annihilated by Dragon Sect, their strength was weakened by more than half as compared to before. At present, there were no orthodox sects or diabolism, as the two leaders were dead. The underworld was back to their peaceful days. After the catastrophe of Dragon Sect annihilating most of the underworld's clans and sects, the remaining martial artists lived in peace together. Even in the face of international factions, they had come together to fend off their common enemies. However, the difference between both parties was too huge. The international factions were totally overkilling. However, all the local martial artists were unwilling to leave this place and give up this golden opportunity. Sui Huang, old Xiao, did you too inform Dragon King? What's his reply? A sect leader from a first-class force could not help but ask Sui Huang and Xiao Quanshan in the middle. As soon as he finished his question, the surroundings were plunged into silence. Dragon King had become the unspeakable person of the entire underworld after he annihilated so many people, dealing a massive blow to the underworld. They had reverence and fear for the Dragon King and Dragon Sect. I contacted him 2 days ago. He said he'll come as soon as possible. Sui Huang looked at the surrounding crowd and spoke in a low voice. I guess even the Dragon King is no match for them. An inborn expert sighed as he spoke with a complicated look. The Dragon King was indeed compelling, and Dragon Sect was invincible in the underworld. But when they spun around and looked at the dozens of peaks at the side, they had only fear in their eyes. More than a dozen mountains around them were shaved in half. They could not help but quiver at the sight of the horrifying scene. That was what happened after experts from 2 international factions fought. Back then, there were 8 experts in combat. The sky was darkened. The whole world lost its color while the mountain peaks broke in half with a slash from the experts. They used to think that the imposing aura displayed by the 4 elders in the pictures posted on the forum was stunning enough. However, that battle was even more ghastly to them. Looking at the pictures and witnessing with their own eyes were 2 different things. When they sensed the mightiness, they almost went down on their knees. Yes, those 4 elders were on par with them. However, there are about 13 such people on their side. From what I heard, they aren't the most powerful ones in the group. Another inborn expert nodded in agreement. This bunch of international factions who occupied their blessed ground by force was much stronger than they had imagined. They were multiple times more powerful than the underworld before the massacre. Those above Dan Realm are known as Budding Realm. The group of people who fought 2 days ago were all Budding Realm experts. The powerful experts that they mentioned are not here. They have been intercepted and stopped by the guardian divine beasts of China, said Xiao Quanshan slowly. The underworld might be weak, but relics were often discovered at this place. To all the factions in Asia, the underworld was an excellent treasure ground. However, their entry to the underworld was restricted by the presence of guardian divine beasts all the while. Without the guardian divine beasts, the underworld would belong to other factions of the world. Even so, the top forces of Asia had not stopped sending their experts over. Even though the most supreme class experts were not here, the entire underworld could still not put up a resistance. Does that mean that nothing can be done even if Dragon King were here? A middle-aged man could not help but ask. Perhaps, we can claim back 1 mountain. But apparently, it has nothing to do with us. A Dan Realm expert from Reed Spirits replied in a stern voice. Everyone was dejected by his words and their faces formed dreadful expressions. In their opinion, Dragon Sect's strength was at most equivalent to 6 flaming elders. 6 of them were already terrifying. But compared to those experts occupying the mountains here, it was still far off from them. Boom. At this time, a horrible-looking palm was coming their way. The palm was 100 meters in size, exuding a daunting yellow glow. It swept directly in their location. Oh no, get out of the way now. Seeing the incoming palm, Sui Huang was aghast as he hurriedly screamed. Thousands of people had a change in their expressions as they quickly dodged to the side. However, there were hundreds of people who did not manage to escape from the gigantic palm and were smashed into flat meat. Haha, I advanced. Awesome. At this time, an old man from Mount Tai let out hysterical laughter as he exclaimed. His voice traveled over 10 kilometers. The group of martial artists from the underworld grimaced upon hearing his untamed laughter. Their eyes were filled with trepidation when they saw the 100-meter palm mark and the blood on the ground. Just a casual swing and a palm of 100 meters landed beside them. From their perspective, this daunting strength was like the work of an immortal. Trashy martial artists from China, get lost now. The arrogant voice from the old man was heard again while another 100-meter palm came sweeping in from 2,000 meters away. Run! Sui Huang shouted out as he ran to the foot of the mountain swiftly. Ha, poor doggies. Useless bunch of sickening dogs, stay out of our way. Otherwise, we'll kill you anytime. Seeing them scampering off, the old man on the mountain let out a burst of arrogant laughter. His excitement could not be contained after he leveled up in his cultivation. They actually drove us out. Having been chased out from their own land, the bunch of martial artists in the underworld were extremely embarrassed. Let's go over there. Suddenly, hundreds of members from the first-class force in the underworld stopped. They exchanged a look before they headed to one of the mountains. Song Qingtian, what are you guys doing? Song family, have you all become the lackeys of the overseas factions? Just then, the 100 people heard raging voices yelling at them. We just want the Song family to grow stronger. What's wrong with that? If we can cultivate under the spiritual energy for a while, it's possible for all of us to become inborn expert. An old man turned his head and spoke with a stern look. So, this is the reason for being a lackey. An inborn expert returned a dreadful look. The entire underworld has fallen into such a state. What more do you want? The old man scoffed at the remaining crowd and walked off. Becoming a lackey of Asia's factions would earn the right to cultivate at the foot of the mountains. That was the condition of the overseas factions. China had too many relics, and the immortals would not dare to set foot here because of the guardian divine beasts. However, the international factions were setting the Chinese up. They intended to recruit some Chinese martial artists as their subordinates to gain better control of the underworld. It seemed like the strategy was working. Chapter 657, Get Out of the Territory of China, 3. At the foot of Mount Tai, the group of martial artists of the underworld stared bitterly at the Song family. All of them felt exceptionally embarrassed. The Song family of China wishes to join the Nether Flame. We hope that the various experts from the Nether Flame will accept us. The family head of the Song family, Song Qingtian, shouted towards the elite force in Asia, Nether Flame, who had occupied a mountain. Hee. Song family of China? What's the strength level of your family like? There was a total of 13 mountains that were shrouded within the waterfall-like spiritual energy around Mount Tai. 5 forces occupied these mountains. Among which, Creepy Snake and Gautama were the strongest 2 forces and they occupied a total of 6 mountains. Nether Flame occupied 2 mountains and had a budding realm expert stationed in this place. An old man with a rather dark skin tone stood at the mountain peak, looked down on the Song family and spoke with contempt. Our Song family is a first-class force in the underworld with 3 inborn expert. Song Qingtian lowered his head and said respectfully, 3 inborn experts? You guys are really trashy. However, your entire underworld is trashy. I guess the Song family isn't that bad in comparison. Come over. The old man felt a little contempt as he spoke to Song Qingtian. Yes, Your Excellency. Our Song family will see Nether Flame denomination as our leader from here onward. Agitation flashed across the eyes of Song Qingtian as he answered in a hurry. Great. The old man revealed a satisfied look. The group of people from the Song family approached the old man with ecstasy and lowered their stance once again. In the future, you guys can't go against any of the orders from our Nether Flame. Otherwise, don't blame us for being ruthless. If there are any secret lands or treasures in China, you have to report it to us immediately. Yes. Our Song family wouldn't dare to defy your excellency. We will take instructions from the Nether Flame denomination from today onwards, the family head of the Song family answered immediately. Come over. Yes, yes. The group of people from Song family was exhilarated and immediately started cultivating at the foot of the mountain. Under the cleansing of the spiritual energy, all the people in the family would be able to reach the inborn realm within a month. So what if they had to become the subordinates of the Nether Flame? When the various forces of the underworld saw the Song family sit below the spiritual energy waterfall, their expressions changed and they started hesitating. Our Qingfeng sect is willing to join the Gautama denomination. We hope that the Gautama denomination will accept us. At this moment, the sect leader of Qingfeng exchanged glances with the members of the higher management of the sect before walking ahead emotionlessly. They shouted respectfully at the international force that had occupied 3 mountains. Come over. You guys will see our Gautama denominations as your ruler from today onwards. In the near future, all of you will be the subordinates of our Gautama denominations and shall not betray us as long as you live. An old man with an angry look turned towards where the Qingfeng sect was and instructed solemnly. Yes, yes. The group of people from Qingfeng sect hurried over immediately. Our Xian sect is willing to join the Creepy Snake group. Our Ivory Lotus sect is willing to join Graceful Massacre denomination. With someone taking the lead, several forces shouted respectfully towards various overseas forces, surrendering and becoming their subordinates. As for those overseas forces, they were happy to witness this development. There were countless treasures and secret lands within China. With eyes within China, they would only be advantages to their denominations without any disadvantages. Moreover, they wouldn't have to give up anything to recruit them for their use. Therefore, they were more than willing to accept these forces. Within a short period of a few minutes, half of all the forces in the underworld had chosen to join the 5 forces from overseas. This made all the other forces of the underworld feel extremely embarrassed and bitter. Highs. As a sacred clan of China, how could I possibly contemplate joining overseas forces? TSK. Witnessing the developments, Sui Huang stormed off furiously. Xiao Quanshan also shook his head as he led his fellow clan member away helplessly. We are devils at our cause and would never be willing to become slaves of others. An old man from Reed Spirits turned around emotionlessly. Our diabolism will only accept others who listen to us. There's no way we would take instructions from others. After the experts from Sacred Clan and sects had left, the group from Thistles and Thorns sect also left. The remaining martial artists of the underworld hesitated for some time and eventually heaved a long sigh. We can't cultivate here and yet they are allowed to. In no time, the entire underworld will be under the control of overseas forces. An old man shook his head with melancholy as he headed for the exit. Some people were willing to become traitors, but there were also some who weren't willing. As those prideful experts left, the remaining cultivators were in a dilemma. Cultivating under the spiritual energy waterfall would not just greatly enhance their cultivation realm. The greater effects would be cleansing their physical bodies. Their future cultivation would be smoother and their foundation would be more solid. Although those forces and martial artists of the underworld had become the dogs of the overseas forces, the rewards they would be reaping would be even more terrifying. In a month at the most, those forces who had chosen to become traitors for the overseas forces would leave those who had chosen to leave today far behind. Although there weren't any sacred clans or sects who joined the overseas forces, it wouldn't take long for those who had to overtake the sacred clans and sects. Tragic. The tragedy of the underworld and China. Everyone. Can our Black Wind denomination get a mountain? At this moment, several hundred people flew over at neck-breaking speed. 2 terrifying experts stood in the air and their domineering voices reverberated across the sky. Another powerful foreign force had arrived. Is this Mount Taibai? At this moment, at the entrance to the tourist attraction, Mount Taibai, Xiao Yu looked inquisitively at the snow-white curtain that extended into the sky. The 1,000-meter-long white curtain that started from the sky was exceptionally majestic and beautiful. Yeah. Wang Xian nodded his head. A red and blue light flashed across his eyes as he stared at the sky. He could vaguely see another world. A large cauldron that seemed to have existed since ancient times hovered in the air and seemed to be suppressing an entire world. Let me ask the Thistles and Thorns sect. Xiao Yu and Elder Fang were about to make a call to the sect leader of the Thistles and Thorns sect. However, before they had even taken out their phones, they saw dejected martial artists of the underworld walking out. Hey! That's Sui Huang and the Xiao clan. Lan Qingyu looked at the crowd and remarked doubtfully. Wang Xian looked across the group of martial artists of the underworld. Leading them were the Sui clan, Xiao clan, and Reed spirits. Over 1,000 people followed behind them and each had a gloomy face. Sui Huang, old Xiao. Wang Xian walked ahead with a smile after seeing them. Huh! Wang Xian's voice took Sui Huang and old Xiao by surprise. The remaining martial artists also lifted their heads with shock. When they saw Wang Xian, they were stunned and speechless. Master. Xiao Rang greeted with ecstasy when he saw Wang Xian. What's the matter? Wang Xian nodded his head and walked over with a gentle smile. SSS. Seeing Wang Xian approaching them, some martial artists took several steps back instinctively. Even the Dan realm experts from the Reed spirits also took a step back in fear. The one before them was the terrifying existence that had annihilated half the underworld. Chapter 658, If you aren't leaving, I'll bury you here. 1. Wang Xian. Sui Huang and old Xiao were ebullient to see Wang Xian as they hurriedly headed in his direction. Xiao Yu, Elder Fang, Sect Leader Tang and Vice Sect Leader Lei from Thistles and Thorns sect walked towards Xiao Yu and Elder Fang with broad smiles. The arrival of Wang Xian and the gang immediately became a supporting pillar for them. 5,000 martial artists behind them remained silent, watching them. What's the matter? The spiritual energy is like a waterfall over here. Cultivating under it is a great chance for any martial artists. Just a month of cultivation and the underworld will regain its peak period. Wang Xian chuckled as he spoke, looking into their eyes. Wang Xian, we were chased out of the mountains. Those strong overseas forces won't allow us to practice around this area unless we become their lackeys or subordinate. Sui Huang shook his head bitterly, revealing a dreadful look. Those that are behind us did not agree to join those overseas groups. Now, we only have these martial artists from the underworld left. The rest have become the lackeys of the overseas forces. Xiao Quanshan darkened his expression. The underworld was bound together for good. Now that the underworld had come to such a state, none of their facial expressions looked good. Oh! They are in our territory, and they are asking the martial artists of the underworld to get lost. There was a flash of cold radiance in Wang Xian's eyes. As he spoke, he headed inside. Ask them to get out of China's territory. Sui Huang and Xiao Quanshan were stunned as they quickly continued. Wang Xian, those overseas forces are very compelling. Wang Xian gestured a dismissive sign. We shall see. Hayak hayak. A clap of grisly laughter came from behind. Sui Huang, Xiao Quanshan, and the rest were shocked as they looked behind Wang Xian immediately. More than 30 people led by a middle-aged man, Mo Qinglong, whom they were familiar with, were walking behind Wang Xian. But they had not seen the rest. There were 8 elders whose heights were less than 1 meter, holding daggers in their hands. The one who chuckled was an old man, exhibiting a sinister smile on his face. Everyone felt their hearts skip a beat. Apart from the 8 elders, there were other middle-aged men and elders with heavily tattooed faces. The killing and murderous aura being exuded were rather apparent. None of these middle-aged men and elders looked normal. Their demeanor made everyone uncomfortable. Those martial artists that were rather weak were even more aghast. Sui Huang and Xiao Quanshan exchanged a look as they followed behind Wang Xian. Dragon King. Upon seeing Wang Xian walking over, the 3 Dan realm experts from Reed spirits quickly gave way to him while humbling themselves with a bow. Follow me. We cannot let some outsiders flaunt their prowess before us in our territory. Wang Xian nodded gently and spoke softly. Yes. The 3 Dan realm experts of Reed spirits slightly paused for a moment before they nodded their heads with radiance flashing in their eyes. Over 5,000 martial artists around him were taken aback. They took the initiative to give way to him and followed him. All of them were wondering about the group of peculiar experts following behind Dragon King. I wonder which world is at Mount Tai. Wang Xian looked toward Mount Tai in the distance as he walked towards it. He whispered something that none of them could understand. Wang Xian, there are 6 overseas forces, including the one that just arrived, at Mount Tai, among which, there are over 10 budding realm experts and close to 40 Dan realm expert. Sui Huang and Xiao Quanshan dropped reminders to Wang Xian by the side. Wang Xian nodded as he craned his head slightly, looking at the mountains that were being cleansed by the spiritual energy. On the peaks of the mountains sat various martial artists. Some of them were exuding imposing aura from within. Bang, bang, bang. Wang Xian led the group of martial artists slowly to the middle of the mountain range. Ha! The trash from the underworld is here to submit to us. Become our subordinate, and you'll have a chance to cultivate. Haha, you guys had better submit to us now. Seeing over 5,000 martial artists return again, the elder who had struck just now shouted at them with arrogance from one of the mountains. His face was filled with arrogance since he had just made a breakthrough in his cultivation level. What he said darkened all the expressions of the martial artists. Hee. Hearing his voice, a tinge of coldness welled up in his eyes as he swept his gaze across the peaks. Do you know where we are? Do you know where we are? A thunderous voice exploded within a radius of 10 kilometers, instantly alerting all the martial artists who were cultivating. Who is here for his doom? A grumpy old man stood up straight away as he hovered in the air. Those who interrupt our cultivation shall die. A middle-aged man swung his arm, and a long blade emerged in his hand. On the highest peak, the experts from Creepy Snake Group narrowed their eyes. At the same time, their samurai swords were giving off a cold radiance. Get out of China. Wang Xian looked at the experts hovering in the air without any expression. His voice traveled over a distance of 10 kilometers once again. Upon hearing the thunderous voice, all the martial artists behind him were shaken as they looked at Wang Xian with reverence. Haha, get out of China? Can you guys chase us out? What a surprise to see a budding realm expert in such a trashy place. An old man chuckled hysterically at Wang Xian from a peak. That is, the Dragon King. It's the Dragon King. He's here. His arrival is unexpected. Dragon King is here. At this moment, those martial artists of the underworld who had given themselves up to the overseas forces were shocked when they saw Wang Xian. They drew in a cold breath and spoke in horror with twisted expressions. Ha! Upon hearing what they said, those overseas forces were puzzled. Who is the Dragon King? Asked the experts from the forces in low voices. He's the most terrifying existence in the underworld. We used to have a couple of budding realm experts too. But they were all killed by the Dragon King. Also, the underworld is not as weak as what you are seeing now. Just a month ago, the dragon sect established by the Dragon King annihilated half the clans and sects in the underworld, said these martial artists with trepidation. Those 2 days marked the darkest days in the underworld a month ago. All of them were afraid of the dragon sect experts showing up on their doorsteps. Dragon King? All the experts of the overseas forces spun around and stared daggers at Wang Xian. So I see. The most powerful force in China, Dragon King. Hee. But so what? You want us to leave here? Fat chance. Today, I'm announcing that this will be the territory of the Creepy Snake Group. Any martial artist from the underworld who isn't willing to surrender will die if you take a step in. Chapter 659. If you aren't leaving, I'll bury you here, too. Today, I'm announcing that this will be the territory of the Creepy Snake Group. Any martial artist from the underworld who isn't willing to surrender will die if you take a step in. Above the main peak where the spiritual energy waterfall originated, 5 old men stood at the tallest point while staring down at Wang Xian. Their cold voices reverberated across the entire area. Dragon King from the Dragon Sect. So what if he had annihilated half the underworld? Known throughout the underworld. So what? In this small underworld, there was indeed nothing that their Creepy Snake Group had to fear. What was there to fear about the ruler of the underworld that was as big as a small pond? So there are still budding realm experts in this underworld. This is really unexpected. Show us your strength. If you have the strength, you can get a mountain. An old man with a metal skull truncheon from Gautama denomination shouted in a low voice, "Keep your arrogance in check. Otherwise, your outcome will be catastrophic. Kid, show us your strength. If you are weak, just get lost. There's no such thing as territory of the underworld. If my fist were larger, this would be our territory. Ha ha." An old man kept his hands behind his back while standing on a mountain peak and shouting arrogantly. When facing the Dragon King of the Dragon Sect, not a single overseas force was afraid or willing to back off. Although the Dragon King and the Dragon Sect are exceptionally terrifying, it would just be their wishful thinking to demand all other forces to get lost. No matter how strong the Dragon Sect might be, they would at most be at a level similar to the creepy snake group. It might be possible to occupy 1 or 2 mountains. The Dragon King still doesn't have the strength to demand all of them to get lost from this place. That's right. There's nothing wrong with our decision. Even if the Dragon King can occupy 1 or 2 mountains, only those from the Sui clan, Xiao clan, and Thistles and Thorns sect would be allowed to cultivate on these mountains. There's no way we will get a chance. On various mountains, those martial artists that had joined the overseas forces looked down and commented gloomily. They had no regrets over their decisions at all. Brother Wang Xian, they are too strong. Why don't we occupy 1 or 2 mountains first? Looking at the terrifying old men on various mountains, they suggested solemnly. Wang Xian shook his head, looked around him and said, "Since you guys aren't leaving, this will be your burial site. This is a rather good resting place after all." Huh. Wang Xian's response stunned everyone around him. Hee hee. Creepy snake group. Your creepy snake excellency almost killed me in the past. I'm going to collect some interest today. Killing is the most enjoyable thing in this world. At this moment, Dragon Spirit, Dragon Kid, and the other Dragonians that had been following Wang Xian finally stepped out. Eerie voices came from them before they charged towards the 13 mountains. Mo Qinglong was equally focused as he charged towards the mountain directly ahead of him. Rumble. In an instant, 9 budding realm experts released their auras explosively from their bodies. The terrifying might instantly shook the spiritual energy waterfall. Hee hee. Time to kill. The Dragonians Wang Xian had brought along this time were from the wandering groups of the disordered region. Every member of these wandering groups had a lingering pungent blood scent on them. Brutality and massacres. Despite becoming Dragonians, their cause remained the same. Therefore, Wang Xian had brought Mo Qinglong along. With his orders and Mo Qinglong to restrict them, these people wouldn't commit acts that were over the top. What? The 30-odd experts from the 6 forces that occupied the mountains were shocked to see these experts charging towards them with frightening auras. It's you, old spirits. Why are you here? Aren't you supposed to be in the disordered region? Since when did you become the dog of someone else? The 5 old men from Creepy Snake Group growled as they saw the old dwarf approaching. Their expressions had also turned bitter and gloomy. "I, your father, will bury you here today." Dragon Spirit gave a creepy smile and the dagger in his hand glowed with a faint green light. A black light shimmered in his eyes. "You must be courting your own death to dare to attack all of us at once. Kill them. These arrogant bastards are courting their own death." The experts from these 6 forces were furious to see Wang Xian instructing his men to attack directly. None of them had any regard for the underworld of China. Yet, they were belittled by Wang Xian, who ordered his men to attack them recklessly. Moreover, what surprised them was that there were 9 budding realm experts among the experts who charged towards them. The experts from these 6 forces pulled a long face and met the attacks with raging killing intent. The battle exploded without any prior signs. Gulp. The Dragon King is still as domineering as before. Attacking 6 overseas forces at once. Is this the entirety of Dragon Sect's strength? They are too strong. They actually have 9 budding realm experts. It's not surprising that the Dragon Sect would be able to annihilate Nai Wushuang, Emperor Qi, and the 4 old men previously. The crowd of martial artists from the underworld couldn't help but gasp as they felt their hearts palpitating violently while watching. This. 9 budding realm experts. Is this the strength of the Dragon Sect? So strong. At this moment, those martial artists that had turned themselves to the overseas forces were completely shaken to their cores. They exchanged glances and could see a bad premonition from the looks in one another's eyes. 9 budding realm experts and 30-odd Dan realm experts from the Dragon sect against the 15 budding realm experts and 40 to 50 Dan realm experts from the 6 forces. There was a huge difference in terms of the numbers of experts between both parties. The Dragon sect would definitely not be a match for the 6 overseas forces. However, the Dragon King had not made a move. Furthermore, the Dragon King had shown the same dominance as before. Based on their prior experiences, they weren't certain who would emerge victorious in the end. How dare you even think of taunting us with just 9 budding realm expert? None of you shall even dream of escaping today. The old man from Creepy Snake Group was brimming with dense killing intent. His samurai sword was wrapped in black devilish aura and opened up a devilish mark that extended over 1,000 meters. Rumble. An explosion reverberated across the sky and the spiritual energy waterfall as spiritual energy scattered down like rain. Hee. Dragon Spirit, Dragon Kid, and other budding realm experts were fearless despite the other party having an overwhelming advantage in numbers. All of them were experts that had survived a bloodbath. Now that they possessed the bloodline of the divine dragon, their strength was enhanced once again. All of them were holding level 12 spiritual equipment. These were specially crafted by Wang Xian. With the materials on hand, Wang Xian was able to refine 20 pieces of level 12 spiritual equipment. As for level 11 spiritual equipment, he had sufficient materials for over 100 pieces. Die. Creepy, ruthless and violent attacks were launched by the Dragonians. Their strength was a lot higher than Mo Qinglong, who had just reached the budding realm. Shit. Why would your attack be? An old man who stood opposite the Dragon Kid was astounded. He stared at his weapons that were now covered in cracks and fear started welling up inside him. Grr. Dragon Kid, who had a hideous expression, shouted loudly. The next instant, a huge devil dragon illusion appeared behind him and the hideous face on it trembled. The killings start now. Wang Xian looked at the battle in the sky and revealed a satisfied smile. He wouldn't have to say much to these overseas forces. All he had to do was kill them all. Chapter 660, If you aren't leaving, I'll bury you here. 3. Wang Xian was neither interested in replying nor listening to their rattles. Since they were not leaving, then they could stay here for good. With level 9 Dragonians, their strength, coupled with the spiritual equipment, was just barely enough to fight against 15 enemies of equivalent levels. However, with him around, he could instantly end all the fights. Wang Xian decided to support them by making a strike. He wanted to observe the strength of the Dragonians and give them some training. When 5 level 12 spiritual swords appeared in his hand, he hurled them into the air at a daunting speed. However, the 5 spiritual swords stayed put and suspended themselves quietly in the air as they exuded domineering energy, striking fear into everyone. Is the Dragon King going to strike? Gosh, 9 budding realm experts can actually go against 15 budding realm experts. 5 spiritual swords from the Dragon King are also ready to strike. This group of overseas forces is doomed. The Dragon King is still, indeed, the Dragon King. Those martial artists of the underworld behind Wang Xian were elated to see this. At first, they thought the Dragon King could at most occupy 1 or 2 mountains. Little did they expect Dragon Sect's strength to have grown to such a domineering level. The Dragon King was going to chase away all the overseas forces, even better, kill them all. Since the Dragon King did not ask us to leave, does that mean that he is allowing us to practice under that spiritual energy waterfall? One of the inborn experts asked with a slight thrill. Several people beside him nodded slowly. I wonder what conditions the Dragon King has. So what? It's fine to even become a subsidiary sect of Dragon Sect since the entire underworld belongs to him now. That's right. Given their current strength, unifying the entire underworld is a piece of cake. Some martial artists commented softly. Several inborn experts even nodded their heads in agreement. Even if Wang Xian requested all the martial artists in the underworld to join Dragon Sect, none of them would have any objections. The 3 Dan realm experts of Reed Spirits nodded in silence after exchanging looks. Whoosh. At this time, 5 spiritual swords in the air were stabbing one of the Nether Flame budding realm experts. Boom. The budding realm expert from Nether Flame was horrified. Dragon King, are you bent on making enemies with the Nether Flame? When Nether Flame God arrives here, you'll die a horrible death. Hehe, this is your burial place. If you want to leave, you can only do so by killing the dragon sect's men. Otherwise, stay in China. Wang Xian cast an indifferent gaze at the overseas forces with a taunting look on his face. Brother, use your spiritual swords to stab that old man in mustard clothing. Just now, he killed one of the Thistles and Thorns sect's disciples, said Xiao Yu, tugging on Wang Xian's arm. Okay. Wang Xian nodded with a smile. He cast his gaze at the old man in mustard clothing who was besieging a Dragonian with another budding realm expert. That Dragonian kept staggering back, as he was completely under suppression. Wang Xian waved his arm, and 5 spiritual swords darted out instantly. Damn it! The elder who was attacking the Dragonian was horrified as he staggered back hastily. He swung his palm, and a mustard palm of 12 meters slammed onto the 5 spiritual swords. Swish! However, the 5 spiritual swords pierced through the palm right away. Under the horrifying gaze of that old man, the swords penetrated his limbs, crushing his entire body with domineering energy. Ah! A shriek was heard as fear flashed in the eyes of that old man, looking at the 5 scary spiritual swords in horror. So strong. Attack that fellow and stop him from controlling the spiritual swords, one of the budding realm experts from Creepy Snake Group exclaimed while a black figure charged at Wang Xian immediately. Whoosh. However, the 5 spiritual swords split into millions of swords instantly, looming over the incoming figure. Barker. That black figure grimaced and let out a raging roar. Ah! When millions of swords penetrated him, the black figure let out a terrifying cry. His 4 limbs were, too, pierced through by the spiritual swords, and exploded. This is toying around. Playing with them. The group of martial artists of the underworld widened their eyes as they saw the Dragon King grinning from ear to ear. They quivered as stunning looks welled up in their eyes. This is the consequence for playing punk in China, a martial artist of the underworld asked blankly. The 4 budding realm experts from Gautama denomination could not help but narrow their eyes upon seeing the annihilation of one budding realm expert. Not that Wang Xian could not kill that expert, but he crippled him just like he was a toy. This struck fear into them. 4 experts exchanged glances with dreadful expressions. The Gautama denomination does not want to fight with the Dragon King. We'll leave China now. One of the experts from Gautama denomination darkened his expression and bellowed in a low voice. Too late. The Chinese are hospitable people. You can be buried here. Wang Xian chuckled as his eyes became filled with disdain. Thinking of leaving? How could it be that easy? How dare you say we're the sick man of East Asia? Trashy underworld. Xiao Yu snorted coldly as she stared with a beaming face. Upon hearing what they said, the experts from the overseas forces felt their hearts sink. In this instance, the spiritual sword in Wang Xian's hand whipped up another attack. The water swords that were shrouding 5,000 meters of the area penetrated the 4 budding realm experts, and they were crippled right away. Okay, now we're one-on-one. This is much fairer. Those who defeated my subordinates can leave. Other than that, don't ever think of escaping. Wang Xian's indifferent voice reverberated across more than 10 kilometers, causing embarrassment for all the supreme-class experts from the overseas forces. From the combat just now, they were shocked to realize that this expert who exuded murderous aura was far stronger and more fearsome than they had thought. They would never be a match for him one-on-one. At the same time, they could not escape. In other words, they would be killed by their opponent. He's toying with us. Such a thought suddenly popped into their heads. They had arrived here with pride and self-esteem, and they stuck their heads in the clouds, thinking that they were here to teach the uncivilized people some lessons. Now, they had fallen down from their clouds. Embarrassment, rage, fear, and a tinge of despair were all they felt. They are the overseas forces that we surrendered ourselves to. Back at the bottom of the mountain, those martial artists of the underworld who had surrendered themselves were completely frozen. Their masters were being toyed with by the most powerful expert from their underworld. Dragon King of Dragon Sect. They trembled, unsure of whether it was out of fear or hatred. All the 6 ultimate overseas forces and over 10 budding realm experts had met their doom on this land that, in their opinions, bred the sick men of East Asia. They had met their doom in the underworld, which they regarded as a piece of trash. Keep one alive from each of the forces. Let them go back and spread the word. They need to consider the consequences before they enter China in the future. Chapter 661, Dragon Vein. Blood-curdling screams resounded in the skies constantly. Over 1,000 people from the 6 forces had come to this place. Among the 1,000 people, those below Dan Realm would be equivalent to cannon fodder in a battle of this level. They couldn't escape at all. Budding realm experts were dying under the attacks from the Dragonians. In the sky, the battle between a dozen-odd budding realm experts gave the martial artists of the underworld the feeling that the apocalypse was happening right before their eyes. A casual strike would bring with it terrifying auras that extended over several hundred to several thousand meters. Each attack seemed capable of splitting the space and sky. As compared to the four-way battles between the Dragon King, Emperor Qi, middle-aged swordsman, and Nai Wushuang, the battle that was happening before their eyes at this moment made them feel even more fear. The martial artists from the 6 overseas forces were horrified. For the very first time, they regretted their decision to step into the territory of China. When the 9 cauldron worlds descend into the real world, you guys will then know what the real underworld is. Wang Xian recalled the group of people he had encountered from the Xia cauldron world while looking at the overseas forces being annihilated rapidly. They had said that all of Asia would be ruled by the underworld of China. Various forces in Asia would have to pay pilgrimage to them. If the 9 cauldron worlds were to truly descend into the real world and ally together, they could easily crush all other forces in Asia. Bam! As expert after expert from the overseas forces died, those forces and martial artists from the underworld that had sought refuge with the overseas forces were incomparably bitter and embarrassed. They had complicated feelings and felt a little fear deep down in them. Would the Dragon King kill them? There was a high possibility that he might. Let's go up the mountain, Wang Xian said to Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyu, and the girls who were beside them before walking towards the mountain shrouded under the spiritual energy waterfall. Sui Huang and Xiao Quanshan followed closely behind him. The remaining martial artists of the underworld hesitated for a moment before following and walking towards the mountain under the spiritual energy waterfall. What a dense concentration of spiritual energy. Cultivating here would shorten the time required by over 10 times. When they reached the peak of a mountain, Lan Qingyu and the girls exclaimed in surprise. Even for Dan Realm or budding realm experts, cultivating under the spiritual energy waterfall would be several tens to several hundreds times more effective. For martial artists at the inborn realm and lower, the effects would be even more insane. Cultivating here will be just like immersing yourself in spiritual liquid. Wang Xian was slightly surprised too when he sensed the spiritual energy that was falling on him. Even if he were to cultivate here for a day, he would be able to gain several tens of thousands of dragon energy. Dragon King, we have left 6 alive and kept the rest here. At this moment, Mo Qinglong walked over and reported. Wang Xian nodded his head and looked towards the group of martial artists that had sought refuge with the overseas forces. Sensing Wang Xian's gaze, all the martial artists were shivering anxiously. Ask them to get out of this place. As for the rest, find a place and cultivate. Wang Xian announced plainly. Yes. Mo Qinglong nodded his head and his terrifying aura swept towards those martial artists that had joined the overseas forces. Those martial artists paled and were exceptionally bitter when they heard Wang Xian. Their expressions changed drastically and intense hatred welled up in their hearts. All of them left while feeling despair. They would have never expected that the seemingly invincible overseas forces they had joined would be toyed with and killed by the Dragon King and the Dragon Sect. Those seemingly invincible experts were all killed. Dragon King. Some martial artists gritted their teeth. Their eyes were filled with horror and a tinge of anger. However, they could only hide this little tinge of fury away as they dared not to offend the Dragon King. The current Dragon King was an immortal-like existence in the underworld. Thank you, Dragon King. As for the martial artists that were following behind Wang Xian, they bowed down instantly to express their gratitude. Every single one of them was shaking with excitement. They had initially thought they had lost even the slightest hope. To their astonishment, the Dragon King had returned to kill all the overseas forces and allowed them to cultivate in this place. As for those martial artists that had joined the overseas forces previously, they were chased out of this place directly. In the future, with the Dragon King stationed at the place where they were cultivating, they could cultivate in peace. Wang Xian waved his arm, lifted his head and stared at the sky. A huge cauldron appeared in his sight. The spiritual energy of this place will likely disappear within a month or two. After its disappearance, terrifying forces will descend into this world. At that time, watch your own actions. Wang Xian reminded the crowd of martial artists from the underworld. The descent of the 9 cauldron worlds would be a huge blow to the martial artists of the real world. If it wasn't for the spiritual energy waterfall, the martial artists of the underworld would be in a terrible state. The appearance of the spiritual energy waterfall would give them some strength to hold their ground. The surrounding people looked at Wang Xian with confused looks. However, none of them raised any questions. Let's cultivate here too, Wang Xian said to Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyu, and the girls. The group of girls nodded their heads. They wouldn't want to let this great chance encounter slip either. The 6 of them flew to the peak of the main mountain. Xiao Yu and the other 4 girls sat on it and started absorbing the endless spiritual energy. Around them, all the martial artists weren't willing to let a single second go to waste as they sat down right away and started cultivating. Wang Xian stood below the spiritual energy waterfall while staring at his body, which was immersed in the white spiritual energy. He looked down the mountain. The spiritual energy is so dense that it doesn't dissipate as it enters the mountain vein. This is truly strange. A red and blue light flashed across and Wang Xian looked below him. No spiritual or mine is formed after the spiritual energy enters the mountain vein. There isn't any spiritual stone either. Instead, the spiritual energy seems to be modifying the mountain vein. How queer. It feels a little like a spirit array. Wang Xian's eyes lit up. As the spiritual energy entered the mountain vein, it seemed to have undergone a unique change. It felt a little like dragon energy. Wang Xian started absorbing the spiritual energy and converting it into dragon energy. The spiritual energy that entered the mountain vein was converted into another form of energy. Vaguely, Wang Xian felt that it was similar to his dragon energy. With a change in thought, a stream of dragon energy was injected into the mountain. This is. Wang Xian was stunned and astonished. The spiritual energy seems to be transforming into dragon energy. It's really dragon energy. Wang Xian's eyes beamed with excitement. Dragon energy is a middle to high-tier energy in the universe. Its greatest effect would be modification. If a place has dragon energy, it would be modified to become a place where talents and great wealth would emerge. Generally, the place would change positively. This spiritual energy that entered the mountains is being converted into dragon energy automatically. Spiritual energy is converted into dragon energy and the dragon energy is completely locked within the mountain vein. It seems like something is forming. If my guess is correct, a dragon vein will be formed as dragon energy enters the mountain vein. Legend has it that those who occupy the dragon vein will claim the throne to the entire world. This is because the dragon vein has dragon energy deep within it. The dragon energy will enlighten the people and nourish the land. It's easier for talents and experts to be raised in this place. That's the reasoning behind those who occupy the dragon vein often claiming the throne to the entire world. Wang Xian's eyes flickered as he stared below him with fervor. Dragon vein. Earth is the flesh of the dragon, stones are the bones of the dragon, plants are the hairs of the dragon and water is the blood of the dragon. As for the dragon vein, the only thing that would be lacking is a soul. Chapter 662, Steal the Dragon Vein. The dragon vein ran through all the dynasties of China. All the emperors in the olden days would choose their capitals and build their palaces on the dragon vein. Wang Xian did not understand the relationship between the 9 cauldrons and the dragon vein. But he was sure that the spiritual energy from the 9 cauldrons had flowed into the mountain range, coagulating into a dragon vein. If this is a well-formed dragon vein, the dragon energy from within can keep a dragon sealed. But if the dragon energy is exhausted, the dragon vein will be lost forever. But now that the dragon vein is undergoing coagulation, can I? Wang Xian had a bold idea. Steal the dragon vein. The dragon vein was dead. But if he could bring it to life, that would mean he could use it for himself. To bring the dragon vein to life might be difficult for others, but it was not as difficult as imagined for Wang Xian. As he moved his finger, a drop of blood slowly descended to the peak. Under Wang Xian's control, it flowed toward the interior of the mountain range after the blood dropped onto the peak. Once the blood landed on the dragon vein, invisible ripples seemed to rise out from it. A mighty divine dragon can be resurrected by a drop of blood because the blood contains domineering energy, dragon energy. With the dragon energy and the soul in the blood, the divine dragon could be resurrected. With my blood and the dragon energy from the dragon vein, a divine dragon will be born. Even if a divine dragon cannot be born, the dragon vein will come to life and be under my control. Wang Xian was looking thrilled in his eyes. The incessant spiritual energy condensed into dragon energy, and in turn, formed the dragon vein, which contained incomparable mightiness. Be it a divine dragon being born or a dragon vein that came to life, this was a huge opportunity for Wang Xian once the dragon vein was completed. When the dragon vein takes shape, the dragon will roar through the sky from here. Ha ha. Wang Xian could not help but let out a burst of laughter while all the martial artists of the underworld looked over with astonishment. He looked around, sat cross-legged on the mountain, and began his cultivation. Such cultivation took half a month. Within this half a month, Wang Xian accumulated 1,000,000 points of dragon energy. However, it was not a lot to him. But to the rest of the martial artists and the 5 ladies, including Xiao Yu, they benefited a lot from it. Xiao Yu and Elder Fang were half-stepped to budding realms in the first place. Naturally, they advanced to the budding realm. On the other hand, Lan Qingyu, Ajaya, and Sun Lingxiu took one step further in the budding realm. The spiritual energy waterfall was a huge opportunity, but the effect was mild for Dan realm and budding realm experts. However, this was like a free lunch to those who were inborn and below. Half a month ago, level 5 and 6 were the most common levels. There were even level 3 and level 4 martial artists. But now, it had become level 8 and level 9, and almost 400 had advanced to inborn level. The number of inborn experts was almost on par with the underworld before the massacre. Dragon King, something big happened in the underworld again. At this time, Mo Qinglong walked over and whispered in his ear. "What's the matter?" asked Wang Xian as he stood up slowly. Another spiritual energy waterfall emerged in the Guta mountain range. Mo Qinglong reported to Wang Xian. Another spiritual energy waterfall? Wang Xian was slightly stunned, but a tinge of pleasant surprise flashed in his eyes soon after. Where is the Guta mountain range? The Guta mountain range is located not far from the intersection of China and India's border. The spiritual energy waterfall appeared one day ago, and those martial artists who surrendered themselves to the overseas forces previously are rushing over there now, said Mo Qinglong to Wang Xian. Is that so? Wang Xian narrowed his eyes. It looks like the 9 cauldron worlds will be descending into the real world one by one from now on. Let's get there now. The appearance of the spiritual energy waterfall also represented the coagulation of another dragon vein. Wang Xian saw that as something more valuable. In the future, the dragon veins might become powers that surpassed the immortal class. Yes, Dragon King. Mo Qinglong nodded. Xiao Yu, Qingyu, Ajaya, Lingxiu, Wang Xian called out to the girls beside him. Ha! They opened their eyes and stared at him, puzzled. Another similar place has appeared in the underworld. I'm heading there now while you girls can practice here, said Wang Xian to them. Sure, Xiao Xian. The girls nodded. If the spiritual energy becomes exhausted over here, all of you must leave this place immediately. Remember, all of you must leave. Wang Xian reminded them. Got it. Don't worry, Xiao Xian. The girls nodded. Continue with your cultivation. I'm off now. Wang Xian nodded his head and gestured to Mo Qinglong, Dragon Kid, Dragon Spirit, and the rest of the Dragonians. Let's go. Yes, Dragon King. A group of Dragonians followed behind him, flitting towards Guta mountain range at a rapid speed. Guta mountain range was a small mountain range without any fame. There were hundreds of mountains with the highest peak at about 1,000 meters with barren surroundings. Within the mountains, the wild pheasants and boars would let out cries of excitement from time to time, as though they had evolved into demons. The cries of wild boars and pheasants caused the surrounding peaks to be even more chaotic. At this time, blossoming white clouds descended from the sky. An immense amount of spiritual energy gushed down like a waterfall. Ha ha, spiritual energy from heaven. Spiritual energy from heaven. Heaven has blessed us. Yes, it's the spiritual energy similar to Mount Tai Bai. Finally, we have a chance to become expert. At this moment, all the loud and thrilling exclamations had replaced all the howls and roars of the wild pheasants and boars. All the martial artists of the underworld raced toward the peaks that were shrouded by spiritual energy in exhilaration. None of them could hide the excitement on their faces. The number of martial artists had reached more than 2,000 people. Ha ha ha, Dragon King. Even though you didn't allow us to cultivate over there, we have our own place now, an elder involuntarily exclaimed with a malevolent look. Yes, what have we done wrong? We just want to be stronger. Dragon King, you're too overbearing. One day, fighting spirit and anger filled that young man's eyes. He opened his arms with elation and eagerness. Without such a huge opportunity, how could you, Dragon King, get this far? Now the chance belongs to us. One day, I'll surpass you and become the most powerful existence in the underworld. All the martial artists cried out in happiness. Ever since they'd been chased out by the Dragon King half a month ago, they were filled with anger and unwillingness. When they heard daily news that some martial artists had attained a breakthrough in their levels, their hearts wrenched. Why had they been banned from cultivating over there? Didn't they join the overseas forces just to become stronger?